Wendy Bell Radio is live for another long 15 hours.
Wow, that doesn't sound super enthusiastic. That sounds like you want to go back to the weekend.
No.
Are you already looking ahead to the next weekend when you have time off? Because
No.
that's what it sounds like.
That's what you heard, but that's not what I said.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. What about this bloodbath crap? Is it so tiresome? It's so freaking tiresome. It's so obvious. It's so clear. It's insultingly idiotic. And yet this is what they do. So we're going to have some fun today. We're going to do some digging. We're going to go back into the Wayback Machine.
Ooh.
We're going to go back to the 1950s. Yeah. We're going to go back to 2012. We're going to go back to 2022 as well. So we're going to do a little time machine with you guys today. But I think that you're going to get everything that's relevant without having to watch the suck news.
Yeah.
They're so
what
bad.
She said.
They're so bad. They're so bad.
I tweeted something about the news media and says a tiger can't change its stripes, but the media is going to die, but I'll be glad to write their eulogy.
There's a phenomenal article, and I want to tell you guys about it. I wish I had time to read it to you today. But if any of you watch my weekend show on Newsmax, Common Sense, you're familiar with, we have radio hosts from across the country who come in as the guests. And Dan O'Donnell is just such a powerful, great guy. He is on WISN, I think it's 1100 AM in Milwaukee. And he also apparently is a writer for The Federalist. Brock, he wrote a phenomenal story about CNN's hit piece on Aaron Rodgers. Did you see that?
You sent it to me. I did not read it yet.
No, like Jake Tapper going after him after RFK Jr. had kicked around the idea of Jesse Ventura or even Aaron Rodgers as a vice presidential candidate. And I guess the left went nuts because they're super freaked out about the popularity of Aaron Rodgers being able to, as the third party, really steal from Joe Biden. And so they launched this hit on him and they put out this story and Jake Tapper fronted it. It was all based on supposition, hyperbole, and bullshit from like 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And they put it out as legit journalism. These are very, very odd times. You have to read everything very suspiciously. Very suspiciously.
Peace?
Huh?
How do you spell peace?
P-E-A-C-E?
No.
P-I-E-C-E?
Why does that look wrong? All right. So I just put it on the locals page.
He just texted me. Well, thank you very much. Dan is just off the chart. So Federalist.com. Yeah. And it is worth the read because Dan beautifully goes back in time and shows how Jill Stein as a third party candidate affected Hillary Clinton, et cetera, and looks at specifically Wisconsin, where he's from. These are the voices we need to follow. These are the platforms we need to follow. The Federalist is one of them. It's really good. That's where Molly Hemingway is, too. She's awesome.
By the way, this, for the person who asked, this is not a fighting Illini. It's just an orange Golf.
That's a Native American. He would be shaming.
Yeah, please.
Native shaming.
Please, right.
So I think that's probably what we should be calling it. I personally am offended. So
well, that's why I wore it. I said, what could I wear today that would offend Wendy?
I think our colors are somewhat fantabulous. Don't you? What professional sports team is orange and green? That's not the Dolphins, right? They have a blue, right?
They're like a blue.
Like a teal blue. So come on. You've got 1:30. Let's go.
Orange and green.
Orange and green. Is there any sports team out there that's orange and green? I personally think we look freaking awesome. So that's why I was going there.
Well, I can't speak for you. I look fantastic.
You do look nice. I will say that. You are very handsome in that color. That, and I did like the shirt on Friday. I thought that was a nice choice. I won't call it your outfit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
People were commenting on Brock's outfit.
No, that makes it sound
a little
metrosexual.
It's okay.
It's a shirt.
It's okay. Tap into the inner female.
It's a shirt and jeans.
Browns or half. Yeah, that's true.
And by the way, that beer was fantastic.
Which one? Are you playing to my early Alzheimer's disease
The
or what?
first and the third one I had.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So I just texted Dan O'Donnell and said that was a kick-ass article in full caps. Thank you very much. He's so great.
Miami Hurricanes.
So see, that's where I was kind of going.
See,
but
it's more St.
teal?
Patrick's Day kind of feel.
Yeah, well, you're England and I'm Ireland, aren't you? Isn't that the color?
No, the flag is orange, white, and green.
I understand that fact, but that's where there's a reason you don't wear orange on St. Patrick's Day. See, these are the things we think about. Deep thoughts with Wendy.
No, we all
Welcome
don't
home.
think about that.
5.
Wow.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to your daily jab of truth.
You can be in the middle of a hurricane.
Somebody comes, I'm going to punch him out. I'm going to punch him out and I'm going to go to jail.
Or you can be on a calm day. North is still north. You could be in a thunderstorm.
The MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
North is still north. People can yell at you.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch. I want to tell you, Kavanaugh. You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
North is still north. It doesn't change fundamental things. And in this business, right is still right, even if you stand by yourself.
We don't get fooled again.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea. 3 hours of bold truth, excellence, and optimism for America. The Wendy Bell Radio Program.
Hello, America and beyond the fruited plain. Welcome home to the Wendy Bell Radio Program, your source for common sense, conservative values, kicking off another busy broadcasting week of fabulosity, if you will. Wendy Bell Radio Network is the app. Join us in the live video. We show all 3 hours of the program. You get to see all the nuts and bolts, alpha to omega. Also, Wendy Bell Radio Podcast. It's so nice to take with you if you've got a jet and do other things today. Just make sure you come on back, bring a friend. Thank you, and welcome home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. You know, I want to start today's program by going back to something that happened to me on Friday afternoon. Brock and I had finished the show. We had cleaned up our respective studios, loaded up, and decided to go out and meet a friend for lunch, have a couple beers and a burger. And in the midst of our meal, I get a phone call from an unknown number, a 202 area code. And I got up and I took that call. And I heard on the other end of the line, federal prison. Call from, and they gave me his legal name, but you'll know him as Stuart Rhodes, the founder of the Oath Keepers. Press 5 if you would like to accept this call. And of course, I did. And for about 10 minutes, we spoke on a recorded line. And I got to hear this man who has been vilified and called so many ugly names, who's been lied about for caring about our country. It's basically what it boils down to. And he reminds me of the Alaska state representative who won re-election in 2022, and I would presume by 24 points would be considered a landslide, because he did, David Eastman. And the efforts in Alaska to unseat him, to strike as null and void his re-election and drag him through the same litigious mud, though not to the degree of Stuart Rhodes, because David Eastman, on January 6, 2021, traveled from Alaska to Washington, D.C. to listen to President Trump speak at the Ellipse. And in the eyes of the triggered, deranged, lunatic left in Alaska, that is somehow dangerous, un-American, unworthy, and should render Mr. Eastman's re-election void. This is the world in which we live, ladies and gentlemen. And yet the man I heard in that federal lockup on the other side of the phone was not bitter. He was not mean. He did not sound exhausted. He sounded resolute. He sounded convicted. He sounded proud. He sounded strong. And I think the mom in me needed to hear that. Stuart Rhodes is not an insurrectionist, any more than the Oath Keepers tried to overthrow our government that day. And it must be tremendously frustrating for these men who have been locked up and thrown away as collateral damage of a great sham to hear how much wrong is said about them and how little right is said. And so, Mr. Rhodes, I know you listen. I know you and other January 6 prisoners are in lockup, and I can't fathom what you have gone through, sir. But we have not forgotten. And I know you're not an insurrectionist. And I know you are not dangerous. And I know that the reason that you were there, and so many people who consider themselves keepers of some of the most important oaths in this country, to service, to protection from enemies, foreign and domestic. Though your time, and many people who are a part of your organization who might have military background, their time of service to this country might be ended officially. Does that service ever really end? Because when you take a pledge to a place that you love, to a place that you would die for, to a place that you would die for to protect strangers from such enemies, and you get thrown away because of it, you don't need to know anything else today about threats to democracy. Because in these United States, we don't lock up the innocent. We don't saddle them with 75 different charges and bog them down in a legal and unaffordable quagmire. And we sure as hell don't then spread false narratives to the media so that the propaganda of January 6th and the danger of the men who went there as ancillary eyes and protection, who did not have weapons, who were not charged with killing anyone because they did not. They were there to protect. And they witnessed the real insurrection, which is a handful of people in our own government who lie and cheat and steal with abandon. And they were desperate for a smokescreen to prevent getting caught. Some of the stories you're going to hear today seem very familiar. One, in fact, takes us back to the 1950s, because it seems history does have a strange, curious way of repeating itself, does it not? And my hope is by the end of these 3 hours, you will be able to identify quickly the patterns, the tip-offs, the phrases, the signs that tell you you are getting screwed, that you are being lied to, that they need to break you in order to manipulate you, in order to swoop in and complete the job of destroying these great United States. To Mr. Eastman in Alaska, a warrior, a father of 4 children, if I'm not mistaken, darling kids, who watched their dad get dragged through the mud because he is an oath keeper too. And they try to unseat him because of that. To anyone out there who loves this country so profoundly that they would donate, volunteer their time, their resources, their energy, their organization, their aptitude to keep watchful eye over the rest of us. While the people who should be doing that are actively working to screw us over, I want to thank those people, those men, those keepers of the oath. If you haven't noticed, our police are being beaten. Nobody wants to sign up for the job anymore. No one wants to be called names, ridiculed, vilified, attacked. It's not worth it. Our communities are at risk. Now ask yourself this. Wouldn't you love someone like Mr. Rhodes, who graduated, if I'm not mistaken, from Harvard Law School and is a very intelligent human being? Wouldn't you want one of these men nearby? I know I would. So we're going to read you some articles. We're going to break down some fake news. We're going to show you the pattern. We're going to painstakingly and surgically take 2 minutes of audio and break it down into 13 separate cuts so that you can begin with increasing speed to identify the traps, the players, the keys, and all of it. Make no mistake, their goal is to destroy this country, and they need you on autopilot so they can finish the job. They will not succeed. Stuart, if you're listening, while you're behind bars, sir, fighting for what is right and just, we're fighting for you. Never surrender. Quick time out when we're back on the Wendy Bell radio program. I call it a profile in sock. And I know that's kind of vague. You're like, wow, what's she talking about? Well, I'm just going to give you 2 words. Mike Pence. Enough said. Next. Yeah, Brock was there when that phone rang. I want to tell you this before we go on. We have a new sponsor, and it's obviously something I take very seriously and I feel very passionately about. I want to tell you about SponsorJ6.com. SponsorJ6.com is a fundraising apparatus created by Jake Lang. He is the gentleman. He's a January 6th defendant. He's being held right now in Brooklyn at a lockup there. And this is a fund where 100% of the money, and they have transparency reports that show everything that goes on, 100% of the donations, 25, 50, 100, 200, or specified otherwise, goes to January 6 prisoners, to their commissary. So this is where they would buy their hygiene items. This is where they will get toothpaste and shampoo. This is where they will get clothing. This is where they get food and extra things while they're in lockup. So SponsorJ6.com is clearly something I care very much about. And I'm deeply gratified to be in a partnership with Jake to be able to spread the word to you. SponsorJ6.com. You can do something. You can sponsor every month. You can sponsor one time. You can decide. But these are the people who need our help. These are the people whose families are getting squeezed because they've been in jail for so long. And I know I can help out. So that is probably what we're going to be doing with our March funds from Crescent Mountain Coffee. We're going to sponsor j6.com. And I hope you join me too. There's very much worthwhile.
And there's 3 links there. He has a blessed, I think it's Blessed TV.
Yes. Yes.
And there's one for a Give, Send, Go for the legal fund. So we just put them all up there.
Yes, and I can talk about the legal fund as well tomorrow, but all of these are, and they, you kind of get to yourself, you're like, how do I know where my money is going? Well, they put these reports on the Gateway Pundit. Oh, Jesus. I didn't even do anything. This sucks.
Look at Bob and Trump.
God, it bothers me so much that this stupid thing moves.
You got 20 seconds. Show him Trump. Trump grew like a champ this week. And we need to trim him.
That's crazy. Chia. I love it. It's the weird roots, though, that I think are very... So as frustrating as it is to hear these voices that at one point made sense to you, Mike Pence seemed like a reasonable vice president. He looked like he was straight out of central casting. That Donald Trump went to some talent agency and they said, give me some Melba Toast white guy who will skew well with the evangelicals, who's really godlike and doesn't say a whole lot. Stand still. Bingo! They got you Mike Pence. It was the perfect match. And then somewhere along the way, Mike Pence got some bad advice. Or Mike Pence showed just his true colors. Because it was his purview as head of the Senate to tap the brakes on certifying the 2020 election. And if you're at all familiar with what our Constitution and what our Founding Fathers' documents are all about, it is entirely within the purview of the people to ask for redress, to ask for the government, to answer to them, to say, hey, we're not cool with something. Now it's up to you to listen to us and help us fix it. That didn't happen. It's the same way they pass bills in the darkness of night that are thousands of pages long, that are full of garbage that they don't want anybody to know about. It's that same sort of situation. Mike Pence then going one step further and stepping in total garbage, deciding it was his turn to run for president. Who in the hell would want a president Mike Pence? We already said no to that in John McCain. We already said no to that in Mitt Romney. And what did John McCain and Mitt Romney both end up as? Rhinos. These are not people who affiliate with the idea of making America great again. They're establishment uniparty hacks, period. So when I saw this on Breitbart.com this morning, I was like, man, usually we have at least one profile and suck. And I'm going to say this is it today. This is pretty big. Mike Pence. He says Trump calling January 6 rioters hostages is unacceptable. Mike, this isn't going to end well. Former Vice President Mike Pence said Sunday on CBS's Face the Nation that former President Donald Trump calling imprisoned January 6 rioters hostages was unacceptable. Now, this goes back to the whole Stuart Rhodes thing. If you never tell anybody what the Oath Keepers is really all about, what the mission statement is, who the people are they really a right-wing extreme organization that's all about overthrow, that they want to be a thorn in the side of government and they want to create, chaos? Of course not. That has nothing to do with it. But if you go online, you can't find any real information about who the Oath Keepers are. Don't you wonder why? I know why. They needed a whipping boy. They needed a piñata. And so now Trump's saying that the people who are imprisoned unfairly, who are still awaiting trial, going up, 3.5 years later, that they are hostages, that they are political prisoners. Mike Pence got his undies in a bunch on that one. Saturday at the rally in Ohio, Trump said, you see the spirit from the hostages. And that's exactly what they are, hostages. They've been treated terribly and very unfairly. And you know that, and everybody knows that. And we're going to be working on that soon. The first day we get into office, we're going to save our country, and we're going to work with the people to treat those unbelievable patriots. And they were unbelievable patriots. I'd like to know, by a show of hands, those who are in the federal lockup right now listening to this program. I obviously can't see you, but you can respond accordingly. How many of you were given some kind of a plea deal if you were to testify on the other side negatively against either Donald Trump or what was going on in the crowd that day? How many of you were given the opportunity to squeeze out of a lengthy prison term if you accepted guilt for something that you did not do? And you refused to do that, knowing full well that, like Stuart Rhodes, you were going to get punished, not as long as he, 18 years for something they call seditious conspiracy, with no weapons, with no intent, and they say all sorts of people were killed that day, not at the hands of these folks. It was Capitol Police. And it was accidental, too, in other circumstances. Mike Pence doesn't seem to understand that we're aware. Pence said, I think it's very unfortunate at a time that there are American hostages being held in Gaza, that the president or any other leaders would refer to people that are moving through our justice system as hostages. It's just unacceptable. Hey, Mike, do you think they got fair trials? Or do you think the ladling on of 40 or 50 charges on top of them was meant to do exactly what it's done? Glue them in litigious quicksand and keep them where they are indefinitely, so that ultimately everyone simply forgets. But we don't forget. We do not forget when people get trapped, Mike. When they get stuck in a situation that was created for them, Mike. And you are an embarrassment. You are an embarrassment to Congress. You're an embarrassment to the White House. And you embarrass me that you were Donald Trump's number 2 guy. And this is what he got. You, rhino suck, Mike Pence. He added, the assaults on police officers, ultimately an environment that claimed lives, is something that I think was tragic, and I'll never diminish it. Sir, you are again in the wrong. Where is your concern about Roseanne Boyland, who was beaten to death by a Capitol Police officer? How about all the others? Where is your critical thought, sir? Well, there is none, because you are the issue. You are the problem. You are the cancer that MAGA is working to excise. You are a tumor in the Republican Party. And you, sir, shall not be dragged along with us anymore. You suck. Quick time out. When we come back, Conspiracy Theory 101. Remember the whole great replacement theory? That's not going on. Well, hello, let's talk about Tyson Foods. You ready? Buckle up. It's next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. You know, the Oath Keepers and what were the other groups? Remember when you'd get noxious protesters who would come and protest the military funerals of soldiers killed in Iraq and Afghanistan? Because I do.
No, the Baptist people.
And remember the folks who'd come out and protect the processional, and they'd come on their motorcycles, and they had American flags, and they would stand guard outside the funeral home. So if any fool tried to get in there and do something untoward, they would be summarily dismantled. That is what I view as the ilk of the Oath Keepers. We will protect and we will be there to serve when your government screws you. And when the propaganda seeps so deeply into the people that they don't realize they've been brainwashed.
You mean the propaganda that Obama passed as you're loud?
Ireland Contracting, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, IrelandContracting.com. Hopefully you guys cashed in on the 36-month 0% financing offer that ran until over the weekend. But now I get the joy to remind you that they are Southwestern Pennsylvania's home exterior remodeling experts. These are friends of ours. We know Gary and Diane well. We know their family. We know their work. We know their reputation. We know what kind of business owners they are. But beyond that, we understand what kind of people they are. And they are good people. They are family people. They hire great Amish installers, and they are the experts of home remodeling, exterior home remodeling in Southwestern Pennsylvania. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, IrelandContracting.com. Remember, their son Dan is an electrician. So if you have any exterior, like let's say you have some landscape lighting that you've always wanted to fiddle with, or you'd like to put some in, and you don't know how to do that, or you're thinking about, maybe we'll put in a spa this spring. Dan is your guy. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF and ask for him. He'll call you back 24 to 48 hours. You'll be so delighted that you did. So delighted that you did. He's very talented and a good guy.
I'm going to talk about a story that came out that we're not going to cover today. Don't get lulled into a sense of comfort, for lack of better words, with RFK Jr. The woman he brought on as vice president, they're all about climate, criminal justice reform. They are,
and it's not the kind of criminal justice reform that benefits the January 6th.
They are progressive light. That's it.
They're like the rhino equivalent on the left.
Yeah, perfect.
There should be a word for that. Maybe Brock can...
Dino?
Oh.
Or...
Ooh, now wait a minute. D for Democrat, but also like prehistorically extinct old.
Yeah. In name only, yes. Or Pinot, but I know you like that wine. Progressive in name only. Well, no, it'd have to be Democrat.
It's Democrat.
Yeah.
Because they're a faction. The Dinos. Brock. Yes.
Wendy.
Yes. Bing, 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 bing. Yes. I love it. Hey, you know what? While I have you guys here, I want to talk about the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh as well. You know, I run into people all the time who discuss the sponsors and say, oh, I've gone to so-and-so and I've seen such and such, and I had these people come out and they worked on my house and they're sponsors of yours. Some of you are hardcore, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much. The Disc Institute of Pittsburgh is one of those very interesting places where people come in and they spend weeks here in Pittsburgh just so that they can go through this treatment called intradisc neutrosis with Dr. Richard Rafferty. I mean, and when I tell you it's non-surgical, but it takes a little bit of time for your discs to grow back. And this therapy, intradisc neutrosis, which is 98% successful, allows your discs to do that. At the very least, it is so beneficial for you to call Doc Rafferty and get a second opinion if you've been told you need surgery for your spine. 412-906-9600. 412-906-9600. Pittsburgh DiscInstitute.com. Doesn't matter where you live. These folks, they're worth it when they can heal your body without surgery. I'll do anything to prevent that. Hate surgery.
I like what people are saying.
What?
Brock deserves a raise for that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have this one.
Well, that would be considered
complete disaster. You are fake news.
Who's fake news?
Brock getting a raise.
Fake.
How?
Fake news.
Then you'd start creeping into the world of being too compensated when I could probably fire you and just hire 2 migrants.
They wouldn't know what you were saying.
It's okay. I'd say, see. And they'd be like, uh-huh. I know Spanish lingo.
Do you?
Yes. I can do it. Something is weird with my right eye when I look down.
Yeah, that is not a new chair.
No. He Indian gave.
Not now. I'm going to the store and buying one.
I don't want it. It's no much better that I have a broken chair because of your violence. All he did is he kicked it out of the way.
Fake
he pushed.
news.
much that we talk about on this program has to do with propaganda, and it is because so much of the world in which we live and the messages that we receive are propaganda in nature. It is very unusual to get real live news. You don't get it anywhere. And it's fun to watch these news operations, whether they be the cable channels, your networks, even the newspapers, etc., as they kind of clutch their pearls and they're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like, where did all of the money go? Well, this just in, you suck. And more people are aware of it. And we're tired of being lied to. You wouldn't stay in an abusive relationship with a partner, with somebody who cheated on you and lied to you and stole from you, and then pretended that they loved you every so often when they needed you, like during elections. You wouldn't do that in your private life. Why would you do that in your government life? You wouldn't. So one of the great conspiracy theories that have circled around and has been proven true, so many conspiracy theories that have been fact-checked by the experts. They got to hate it, right? When they come out all hot and bothered, that's not true. And then they say, no, comma, such and such didn't, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know that you're right and that they're just covering. You know that. This whole great replacement thing, remember about a year and a half ago, it started coming out, and it was sort of this idea, and it was taken originally as a replacement, I think, of Black people, replacing Black people, and instead now choosing migrants, your illegal immigrants who've broken the law to get here from all over the world, choosing them instead. Putting all the eggs in that particular basket, shafting the Black workers and bringing in these illegals to take their jobs. It's more than that, because that's not really what it is. It's displacing the American worker in general. It's taking the American born here. This is your blood, your country, your soil, your land. And effectively crossing you out of the equation and welcoming other people in, and then sweetening the pot and giving them everything for free that you have to pay for. Of course, this is what's going on. Well, all the experts, no, there is no replacement. That sounds like some fringe white conspiracy theory, whatever, something that Stuart Rhodes would talk about. And the Oath Keepers. Well, no, actually, it's been going on for a while. Why do you think they had to fudge all the jobs reports? For a year. They inflated the numbers and then went back after we weren't paying attention and changed them, adjusted them. Oh, yeah, it was a coding error. Yeah, we had a glitch. It was so weird. Total glitch. But we went back. It's all good now. Oh, you mean all those gains that you said you made, we didn't actually make? And any gains that were made were not with native-born workers. They were with migrants? Really? 0 jobs? 0 Americans added to the payroll in a year? That's what it is. That's where we are. So enter Tyson Foods. Tyson flirting now with being Bud Lighted. And I think they probably should. So here's the story. You know about the Perry, Iowa, right? Perry, Iowa, Tyson food plant. This is at a time when Smithfield Foods, the #1 pork producer in the country, is purchased by a Chinese billionaire. So, pardon us if we're a little protective of the food supply. We see what's going on with Bill Gates trying to invent fake meat, breast milk, and all sorts of other gross stuff. We see our farmland in peril. We see the food supply being attacked, a la Amos Miller. Agriculture Department going after people who are self-sufficient, who do not want to be ruled by the government, and we are protective of that. This story about Tyson Foods, though, this is a piece of work. This is the New York Post. Tyson Foods is hoping to hire over 40,000 immigrants for labor manufacturing jobs. So the story last week, Tyson's plant in Perry, Iowa, they decided to shutter it, or they bagged all their people. It was like 1,200 people, 1,200 workers in a community of like 7,000, 8,000. That's a huge hit. I made the analogy, I think, Friday about Lordstown, Ohio, when GM came in, moved out, and the whole town died. So we were saying, oh my gosh, this town is going to die. This is important. Well, no, it's not going to die, because apparently Tyson has been working for quite a while now with this organization called Tent. And that's another thing we're going to have to chew on over the days and the weeks ahead. The new Black Lives Matter grift. Same ilk, same theme, same vibe. Getting companies to agree not to support blacks anymore. The new grift is to support hiring migrants and training them and bending over backwards. That's the new left-wing ideology box-checking narrative. Tyson Foods says it's eager to hire over 40,000 asylum seekers and migrants arriving in the United States, according to a report from Bloomberg. The multinational food conglomerate is already hoping to hire personnel from the massive influx of migrants coming into the country from South and Central America. They're very, very loyal, Tyson Human Resources leader Garrett Dolan said in a statement to that outlet. Loyal, are they? Really? Huh. They've been uprooted, and what they want is stability. What they want is a sense of belonging. Well, who uprooted them? Garrett Dolan? They did. They did, and your Biden administration put out the welcome mat and invited everybody in a never-stopping turnstile at the border. They've been uprooted. That's incorrect, sir. They made a decision to come suck off the teat of our federal government and to drain us dry. That would be great replacement theory fact. Quote, we would like to employ another 42,000 if we could find them, Garrett Dolan said, the human resources leader at Tyson Foods. The company is disputing the report, releasing a statement on their website accusing the article of misinformation. Well, in recent days, there's been a lot of misinformation in the media about our company, and we feel compelled to set the record straight, Tyson said in a statement. Tyson Foods is strongly opposed to illegal immigration, and we led the way in participating in the two major government programs to help employers combat unlawful employment, E-Verify, and the mutual agreement between government and employers program. Tyson Foods employs 120,000 team members in the United States, all of whom are required to be legally authorized to work in this country. We have a history. Strong hiring practices. Really? Tyson very recently made headlines after the company announced it was going to shut down less profitable plants in other regions of the country. Workers at Tyson's Perry, Iowa facility officially learned of the location's planned closure Monday. The plant reportedly has a workforce of more than 1,200. After careful consideration, we've made the difficult decision to permanently close our Perry, Iowa pork plant, a Tyson Foods spokesperson confirmed Tuesday to Fox Business. Spokesperson said the closing the plant emphasizes our focus to optimize the efficiency of our operations to best serve our customers. In other words, we're shutting out the native folks because we want to hire all these other folks. Oh, that didn't happen. Well, yeah, actually it did. And at the bottom of this segment, I'm going to bring it up right now. I want to tell you about this tent. Before I get there, how about this? This is a news report. The benefits that Tyson Foods is now offering illegals that you and I would never get. Guaranteed the 1,200 individuals who got axed at that Perry, Iowa plant, who are Americans, right? One would argue, American workers. They would never get all of these benefits that these migrants who are illegal aliens are getting. Listen to this.
They want to retain those workers by providing benefits such as temporary housing, a relocation stipend, part-time off to better acclimate to their new lives. Employees will also receive on-site childcare and transportation as well as paid time off to attend court hearings. And they're also saying that they're allocating $1.5 million to help them with legal services. Tonight at 8, we're going to take a closer look, my colleague Megan Smith and I, at what the process looks like for migrants 48 hours after they arrived into the city of New York.
After they ride in the city of New York, they get everything they want. Here, sit here. You can have a free house. You can have a prepaid debit card. Here you go. Got $900 on that. Your family members? Oh, let's double that. Oh, no, we'll quadruple it. How about some food? You want some food? You want some free health care? We got that too. Transportation wherever you got to go. Child care. Are you out of your mind? Do you want to know how much money I have paid over the course of 15 years, probably just on nannies and daycare for my 5 sons while my husband and I have worked? Well, no matter, because these folks get it for free. And by the way, when they have to go in any of their legal proceedings to hopefully become citizens, which of course is what they want, they get paid time off for that. Here's the grift. You guys ready? This is what it is. It's called Tent. Tent.org. And here's the little blurb off of Tent. Tent is this new Black Lives Matter kumbaya, where we're gonna browbeat 400 major global companies, many here in the United States, and we're gonna kind of hold that fire to your butt, where if you don't pledge X, Y, or Z about opening your hearts and your minds and your wallets for these migrants and giving them job training and employment, well, BlackRock and Vanguard aren't going to look very well upon you. Neither will State Street, considering they're the top investors of more than like 80% of these businesses that we've investigated. Tyson has agreed to this pledge with Tent. In 2022, this is a direct quote from Tent's website. I'll tell you more about them in a moment. In 2022, Tyson Foods committed to hiring 2,500 refugees over 3 years in the United States. Tyson Foods will provide its refugee employees with on-site classes through its Upward Academy and Upward Pathways programs, including professional skills training, English as a second language courses, citizenship and legal assistance. Who the hell are you, Tyson? How about you just make some chicken, you suckers? Citizenship and legal assistance, general education development certification, digital literacy classes, and financial literacy training. Companies also addressing transportation issues, access to health care, and child care for its employees. This commitment builds on access to all of these things and Tyson Foods' efforts to hire hundreds of refugees. Make that 42,000. You guys might want to update your website, Tent. This is something that you guys need to start paying attention to. Go to tent.org. I'm going to read you a little bit of this when we get back. Some billionaire schmuck, a la Bill Gates, who's meddling in the world, makes everything worse. That's what this is. The new BLM grift. Oh boy. And it's all about replacing Americans with migrants. Oops. Was that a conspiracy fact? We'll be right back on the Wendy Bell Radio program. All right, so you guys hear me talk about the wellness company, and you hear me talk about these things. This is the medical emergency kit that you have at home. They also have this travel kit, same sort of size, but it has a different variety of things for you if you and your family traveled. So you have basic, necessary prescription medications. This is done by prescription through the wellness company, but they have a new kit. And I'm kind of excited about this with all of the crazy people out there in the world. It's the contagion kit. And you're like, what? That sounds dangerous. Well, let's see. We won't forget 2020. We won't forget what they've done. We won't forget the virus. We won't forget any of it, period. And since the World Economic Forum meeting in mid-January, which we covered, where this disease X was discussed at length, the pandemic treaty spearheaded by the World Health Organization, which we've been following as well, it's being shoved down our throats as this solution to whatever comes next. And this treaty, by the way, would be accepted as international law and would dictate how countries must respond to future pandemics. Must respond. So Tedros could wave his magic wand at the World Health Organization and you have to shut down. Fantastic. This is a power grab. We know this. It is a power grab. And Dr. Peter McCullough and others, Dr. Drew among them, who founded the wellness company to provide this ancillary medical environment that you can access that isn't screwed over by the federal government. Okay? This is what you get. It's an only of its kind Prescription Emergency Kit provides you with carefully selected assortment of effective medications for COVID-19 and other respiratory illnesses. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, Z-Pak, budesonide. I'm not a pharmacist. Along with a nebulizer, these are things that you need to have on hand in the event that these people try to launch something else on us. How do you get it? Super easy. twc.health/Wendy, the wellness company, twc.health/Wendy. Use my name at checkout, save 30%. Look, whenever they're going to throw the next pandemic at us, which they will, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to be prepared. And that is what this contagion kit is all about. Be prepared. twc.health/Wendy. Wendy at checkout, save $30.
Let me say in 29 seconds. I get emails, I'm sure Wendy does all the time. What can we do? Now is the time to support your local butcher, your local farmer. And you know what? If you don't have a local farmer, cheap plug
Find
for
one.
Patriot Switch,
Yeah.
Riverbend Ranch, not a sponsor, Moink, who is all local farmers.
So I've got this great media mashup for you. It's like 3 minutes and it's super awesome. It's the media spreading propaganda, spreading lies. And this is recently. This is within the last couple years. And this is a mashup of all of these voices who demand that you pay attention to what they say, that you take heed of their warnings, that you trust them implicitly and never doubt what they say. Who are the spigots, the hoses of government propaganda? And it's because of something Barack Obama did in 2012, tweaked a little law that allowed the government to start spreading the airwaves, our media, with propaganda. I want to read you this from tent.org. As I told you, this is like Black Lives Matter. It's a very nebulous thing. It's we're going to pledge this, this, and this. And somehow if I pledge this, I'm a better person than those who pledge less. It's ridiculous. Tent.org about a new approach to supporting refugees. Wouldn't you love if there was a new approach to supporting homeless veterans? A new approach to supporting children who are abused. A new approach to supporting political prisoners from January 6th. Right? A new approach to supporting women when men invade their sports. No, this is a new approach to supporting refugees. This is the grift. Companies have a critical role to play in helping refugees who've been forced to flee their home countries. They haven't been forced to do jack squat. Let me make that abundantly clear to you, hacks at Tent. I don't give a damn how freaking wealthy you are. I have no care in the world how deep your connections are. Stop lying to people in the first line. We've got to hook you with something emotional because our facts suck. We can't win in the marketplace of facts. So we're going to tug emotionally. These people are fleeing persecution. Oh, yes. We have to help them. We don't have to do crap. We have to help us, our people, Americans first. Last time I checked, judging by the lines of homeless wrapping around the buildings in Manhattan, in New York freaking City, the Empire City. Homeless everywhere. They don't matter because at Tent, it's all about the illegals. We're going to pay more attention to this. Tent is going to come up a lot in your circles now that we've spoken about it. Read about it. Get educated. And now, when anybody out there tries to tell you that Donald Trump is the one he's trying to incite violence, he's promising he's going to exact revenge, he's going to go after his political opponents. He called it a bloodbath. It's a bloodbath. Oh my goodness. I think we should just take a time out, tap the brakes, pull over, put it in park, and remember that these lackeys in the mainstream, the mouthpieces of propaganda for the left, the uniparty, this is the filth that they have been spreading. Enjoy.
What would a second Donald Trump term look like? Well, he cannot be the next president. Because if he is,
you can't imagine the things that he's going to do. Mexico, Canada. We can't go to Canada because eventually Canada will become annexed to America.
And shoot visitors to the White House. Yeah, that means he can shoot the First Lady.
We're going to see violence, the likes of which we didn't even see on January 6th.
Make it illegal to run against him, to throw his opponents in jail, to shut down the media.
He will make himself into the Fuhrer, and he will make everybody raise their hand and salute him.
Using martial law against the American people.
Terminate the Constitution.
To rewrite the Constitution.
Create mass internment camps.
Throw everyone into Gitmo.
Might be sent to jail, or their rights might be suppressed, especially minority groups in society.
You might have any number of things happen to you and your family.
Every one of us, our freedom, our liberty, none of us is safe.
He's going to have people around him executing against an enemy's list.
Assassinate generals.
Ordering troops to attack American citizens.
Trump's very well-armed and extremist base will try to kill people.
He's going to basically burn the house down.
He will unravel the institutions of our democracy.
Draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler.
Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini.
Makes Donald Trump even more dangerous.
Wants to take away your vote. Senate and the House are immediately going to be paralyzed.
People will begin in their minds to censor themselves. They might say, well, maybe I shouldn't say this.
This is the end of democracy.
I think that could be the end of our democracy.
But democracy is dead if Trump is reelected.
Cozy up to Putin that democracy will be at risk.
The absolute destruction of the Justice Department as we know it.
The Justice Department could be entirely transformed.
I am really concerned about that.
Every person who was associated with the attempted coup elevated in the administration.
If he's reelected, he will curb transgender rights.
The end of the rule of law.
Arrest political opponents.
To persecute, not prosecute, but persecute his enemies.
Take a wrecking ball to the rule of law.
He's going to make the law. Everyone else will have to follow.
A vote for Donald Trump may mean the last election that you ever get to vote in.
To go after the independent and free parts of American civic life.
He would tear down our institutions.
Purge the government of employees.
Department by department effort to weaponize the powers of the government.
To use the military to quash protests.
Ridding the government of all democratic safeguards.
Junking American democracy as we have always known it.
That he would try to stay in office beyond a second term. That he would never leave office.
There's no question.
Trump is reelected, he won't leave.
Donald Trump will never leave office voluntarily.
And what that means is that everybody who wants us to remain a republic has to put every other thing aside and work together urgently right now to stop that from happening.
Wow. Tom Elliott from Gravy, and my goodness, it is always gold, the mashups that they give us. Holy cow. That is just a small example of the absolute proof that Donald J. Trump owns the left. He owns the uniparty. He owns the establishment, and they are addicted. They are obsessed. And they want you to believe something so very desperately, ladies and gentlemen. They want you to believe that he is a threat to democracy. Jen Psaki, 2 minutes yesterday on MSNBC. 2 minutes. And we break it down into an entire half hour. Let us have some fun. All right, get ready for it, folks. It's next on the Wendy Bell Radio program.
I wouldn't say it was fun.
Well, it was a lot for you. 2 minutes into 13 different clips.
So if Donald Trump would fire all of these government employees, but hire illegals in their place,
yes,
would they be okay with it?
Who knows? Who knows? You guys, I have a new sponsor and I'm super excited about it. I want to tell you about, let's see here. You know what? I'm going to wait for a second. No, actually I am. You know, I have heard a lot and I'm intrigued by it the older I get. And we talk about collagen and our skin and many people talk about it with their face, get collagen injections, do various things to erase the lines and the wrinkles and the shadows and the things on your skin. Well, I want to tell you something about Native Path collagen peptides. And this is really cool. When they got in touch with me, this company. This is a very interesting product. And, finding an honest doctor who isn't following in the footsteps of big pharma can feel like it's almost next to impossible. That's why we enjoy these operations like Dr. McCullough. That is why we like Native Path, because you have people who are putting their own time and research into something because they know it works. They don't want to be bogged down with the big pharma connections. And so they put it out, they test it, and then they make it available to you, and through me offer a discount. This is what it's all about. Millions of men and women so far have turned to one Texas doctor, and the 7 reasons that he says anyone over the age of 50 should be drinking this one thing. I kind of gave it away. It's not milk. It's not some calcium-rich drink. Instead, however, it's this unique protein that naturally declines with age and is proven to scientifically increase bone strength, soothe joint pain, minimize wrinkles, and cellulite. Give me a lot of it. Enhances hair follicle thickness and even reverses nail damage, with users reporting results in as little as 2 weeks. All right, so this Texas doctor is offering our listeners up to 45% off of this. This is his bone, joint, and ligament restoring formula. It's at getnativepath.com/Wendy. Getnativepath.com/Wendy. Thousands of 5-star reviews. There's more than 1 million customers, 4 million jars sold. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk for you to try it. Just go to getnativepath.com/Wendy to get up to 45% off and free shipping. You've got nothing to lose. I'm all about it. They had me at the word zhuzh. Like it's not in there. It said cellulite. It said cellulite, and I saw zhuzh. So, you know me. I'll try almost anything. Let's go. Can I slap it all over my legs? Is that an image that you guys all wanted to have with me?
Yeah, we appreciate that.
I'm with you. I love you back. So we already hit 2,000. We're at 13,000 views. Holy mackerel. 675 on X. That's kind of lackluster. But considering we used to get like 30, 5, that's mean, but true. We did. Many times there were only like 11.
Are you trying to tell me I'm supposed to consider your feelings when there's facts involved?
No. Oh, by the way, I'll show you Bob. I want you to see this. Chia. So there's Bob.
Why don't you give him a trim while you're there?
And here's Donald. Now, Bob's got about, 2 days, 3 days?
But we left Donald under the greenhouse effect for 3 days.
So tell me, who was it who got us, Donald? It was Bob from Missouri.
Bob from Missouri.
It's almost like I said that. Wow.
Can I give a quick plug for next weekend?
Wow. Yeah.
And she knows what I'm talking about because I was super excited. On the pet show this weekend, we have a doctor talking about gut health for animals and people that will target things inflammation, epilepsy.
It's all about Brock. Teasing. He was very excited about this conversation, and it involved Australia. Yes.
Yeah, the gentleman is from Australia.
So they had this huge time difference.
Yeah. So we recorded him last night when he had time, and he was even at the lab when we interviewed him. But when Mike interviewed him, but I just jumped in at the end because I had so many questions. I kept him for another 30 minutes, just saying, "What about this?" He's talking about how your gut health is directly related to mental health. What do we have in this country right now?
A lot of mental health issues.
A lot.
Lot of mental health issues.
I don't normally sit there and promote the pet show except on like Fridays, but And then I'm going to extract that interview, and I'm going to put it on Locals. So if you're on Locals, you're just going to see that also. So it's fascinating. And
this is creating the illusion of me being
poor Mike. It's his friend, and I kind of did one of those, when you talk to somebody and be like, "Can you hold through the break?"
Yeah.
I said to him, so he gets done talking. I'm like, "You can come back, right?"
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm very excited for you.
Yeah, it was super interesting. Super interesting.
Find out how long those medications in the wellness kit last. I'd imagine it's a couple years. You love the curls. He thinks it looks better because it's not forced. It's definitely easier and harder too, but there you go.
Yeah, you guys don't see the prep work.
Yeah, it is quite, because it has to
yanking
be.
it back.
No, it's got to be short enough for
down.
television, so that it's short enough for television when it's straight. When it's curly, it's like. Anyway, feel my pain. Whatever. I have hair.
Yeah.
Tent. What a bunch of suck.
Yeah, that was our Sunday morning.
Huh.
Tent.
Oh yeah, that Brock and I for like 2 hours going through Tent.
Will you give it the old? Would you like to help me look at this?
All of the companies that you know of who are signing on, like they signed on to Black Lives Matter. Hey, I'd rather know. Easy for me not.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wendy Bell. Inspiring solutions to save America, one show at a time. Are you ready to get on board?
They believe that they can destroy this bond that exists between you and Trump if they somehow make Trump look bad, make Trump look like a reprobate, embarrass you about Trump. They can't do it because you came before Trump. Desperately want Trump gone, and I know that they desperately want it codified, that Trump cannot run again, because make no mistake, they remain scared to death of you, and they remain scared to death of Trump. Trump, 75 million, 80 million votes. And I'm going to tell you, you're not going anywhere. Even if Trump does, you're not, which I think remains one of our big campaign strengths going forward. They can't separate you from Trump. And more importantly, they can't separate you from the ideas. They can't separate you from MAGA. They can't separate you from Make America Great Again.
From sea to shining sea, 3 hours of bold truth and excellence. The Wendy Bell Radio Program.
Well, it is hour number 2 already of the Wendy Bell Radio Program. Delighted to be back with you, and a warm hello to all the folks watching us on Newsmax N2 channel. It's a delight to have our last 2 hours simulcast on television. Thank you to our friends at Newsmax. You know, it's just so interesting when you hear so blatantly the desperation coming out of the mouth on the left. And I think it's without question now that the media, by and large, are owned by the left. They propagandize for the government. And that for several years now, there has been a concerted effort to muzzle, to silence, to censor, to restrict the reach of those of us who aren't falling for it, those of us who share what I say at the very beginning of this program, common sense conservative values. Where now in this country, it's demonized. That whole MAGA idea is supposed to be dangerous. It's so idiotic that making America great again should be a threat. But if you start with that as the predicate, that you are indeed a threat, that this movement is a threat to those who hate this country and want to see it fail. It is Cloward Piven, my friends. It is those two wacky people who in the 60s came up with that philosophy that if you can overrun the social services and you can cripple it and topple it so that there's madness and mayhem everybody's fighting and everything seems like it's on fire. It's a great way for your government to swoop in to save the day. And when you're reeling, licking your wounds, they install a government of shock. Donald Trump disrupted that. They hate you for that. They hate you more for that than they hate Donald Trump. He's just your representative, your whipping boy. Jen Psaki over the weekend said something pretty interesting. Literally, it's 2 minutes. And this whole thing about Trump in Ohio at a rally, I know we covered it on Newsmax Live. And in his speech, Donald Trump was talking about very clearly certain issues, 2 primary issues that have been taken out of context and used and abused in the media to propagandize people. He was talking about MS-13 gang members, and he was also talking about China building giant car manufacturing facilities in Mexico, thinking that they're going to be able to sell their cars in America. And he said, if I'm president, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that's going to happen. And so this is important to the auto industry. If I'm not reelected, it's going to be a bloodbath. Meaning industry is going to absolutely get killed. Now, the media and Jen Psaki at the helm, looking quite a bit like a leprechaun, decided to take the ball and run with it. And so she said, you know what? The bloodbath comment. People are saying it's taken out of context, that Donald Trump's words are taken out of context. Well, they are, right? There's a very easy way to twist words when you don't provide the entire statement. And that's what they do. So Jen Psaki sanctimoniously, as only a triggered white college-educated liberal hack can do, is going to sanctimoniously, lugubriously, if you will, stunningly, she's going to give you her smarmy dissertation on taking Trump out of context. Oh, we know, she says. So this is 13, literally 13 bites taken from this 2 minutes. And I want you to hear the very beginning. Here is audio soundbite of suck number 1.
Context, everyone. Otherwise, it's irresponsible. Well, if they want us to consider the full context, let's do just that. Because the full context is that Trump kicked off this same exact rally by saluting the people who were convicted for the deadly assault on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th.
Now, those people convicted of the deadly assault, not a single January 6th defendant killed anyone. Capitol Police did. But not the January 6th defendants. They killed no one. They protected themselves. And they were assaulted because it was a setup. It was. And if that's inconvenient to you, it's too bad. But it was. He began by saluting those hostages, those January. Can you believe that? Yeah, I can. Because that's what a president does. A president doesn't forget about Lahaina. A president doesn't take a year to go to East Palestine. A president doesn't take 3 years to visit the border. A president doesn't allow any of this to happen. So, yes, I do agree with Donald Trump that that was important. She's not done, though. She's still triggered about January 6th. Let's go.
All to the tune of the national anthem sung by a choir of imprisoned insurrectionists.
Now, having gotten off the phone with Stuart Rhodes, who called me from federal lockup on Friday, the guy who started the Oath Keepers in 2009, the guy I've already told you what he founded, what they were about, how they've been demonized, vilified, twisted, all of that. To hear January 6th defendants singing the national anthem, feeling that harmony, that unity, that patriotism, that's got to be galling for anybody on the left who hates America. And Jen Psaki clearly does. Then she says this, audio soundbite 3.
The full context is that some of the first words out of Trump's mouth last night, same rally, were thanking those rioters and calling them patriots.
Great patriots went to the Capitol on January 6, 2021 because they cared. They traveled like David Eastman, the representative from Alaska, traveled how many thousands of miles to get to the Capitol that day, to get to Washington, D.C. that day. And the continual twisting of the idea that people went from all around the world, came from all around the world to listen to that speech at the ellipse and to create the illusion that they plan to overthrow the government is as absurd as it is tired, and Psaki knows it. And she said this about the upcoming presidential election. Audio soundbite 4.
The full context is that he also said in this same rally, quote, "If this election isn't won, I'm not sure that you'll ever have another election in this country."
Well, this funny thing is, that's what Liz Cheney was just saying in that supercut, that mashup we just played for you, of all the laundry list of lies, 3 minutes that we found. She said if Donald Trump wins in 2024, there's probably never going to be another election. That's okay. Liz Cheney can say that, right? But Donald Trump can't get up and say, look, if we don't do this, we lose our country. Everybody knows that if Donald Trump doesn't win and common sense conservatism does not win, that it's lights out for this country. That's not drama. That's not hyperbole. That's not a lie. It's facts. And you see it with your own eyes. And then she takes umbrage with how Donald Trump called the illegal immigrants who have streamed into our country, who've jacked up all of our taxes, who the government is falling over for, and 400 big businesses under tent.org have pledged to train and support and help acclimate and give jobs to. Audio soundbite 5.
The full context is that he went on to say some undocumented immigrants are, quote, not people.
And that's not what he said. He said MS-13 gang members, Jen, are not people. Animals are not people. That guy, Barbecue in Haiti, I would go on a limb and say he's not a person. That's an animal, not people. People don't do what those who have been incarcerated and let out of prisons all around the world to come to the open door with the flashing vacancy sign that Joe Biden's put out there. They're animals. All of them? Of course not. Don't take it out of context, Jen. Then she continues on with this. He's been dehumanizing people for years, I believe, is her direct line. Let's listen.
And of course, the full context is that this is much bigger than one single speech. This embrace of political violence, this dehumanizing language. This is what Donald Trump has been preaching for years.
So interesting, because it wasn't Donald Trump who was preaching Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots during George Floyd. It was the likes of you, Jen, and Chris Cuomo and other lackeys in the media who said protests had to be peaceful. Remember that? You guys are the ones who exonerate the lawless, who think it's all okay, Jen. So, unfortunately, things are about to go sideways for the young Miss Psaki, as we're going to circle back after this short commercial break and give you the real whoppers, because God forbid we let Charlottesville go to waste. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. It is not intended to be enjoyable to do this. That it is something undeniable that I have to give into. And I have to tell you that I like it every single day, that it gives me meaning and terrific joy to be here to debunk these assholes. Just so you know. Hey, let me tell you about the Simkovich Concussion Institute. How about this? Crystal from Latrobe, Pennsylvania, completely turned my life around on many occasions of setbacks in my healing process with concussions, jaw issues, and neck. Totally turned my life around. That's pretty big. How about this one? This is Lorna from Katanning, Pennsylvania. Worked wonders for my son. He was in the 11th grade and was knocked out cold during a basketball game. That's scary. We were referred to Dr. Simkovich due to concussion he suffered and issues related to it. With Dr. Simkovich's intensive treatment program, he recovered and is now 21, going into his 4th year of college, then PT school. Thank you so much, Dr. Simkovich. And how about this one from Darlene? She's from Cooperstown. I had a traumatic brain injury in 1994 that left me severely disabled. Then I had another concussion in April that I had to stay in a dark, quiet room. It left me cognitively impaired. After treatment with Dr. Simkovich, I'm better than I've been in almost 30 years. I had a complete recovery in an extremely short period. If you have a concussion, go to Dr. Simkovich. SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com. SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com. 412-366-3700. 412-366-3700. Worth it. So let's see. We're on 7, right?
Correct.
Wow, I've got a lot to get through. I'll make quick work of it. Sometimes I find myself motivated to meander into different topics, and then I have to come back. Sometimes I lose my way. Because it's all in here. Right? He's got that look on.
I have nothing. This
know.
is the look. Ready?
A stupid, ugly face look. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you want from me.
Nothing.
Do you sometimes lose your way and meander off topic?
13,000, almost 500. Can you imagine if we made it to 14,000? Do you know the only time we did that?
244 in Rumbles.
Do you guys know the only other time we did that?
I do.
Brock?
DJT.
That's it. That's that phone call. Bring.
Oh, we're
Wendy
an
Bell.
We're an editor's pick.
Wendy Bell Radio. Hi, this is Donald J. Trump. And Brock was like, hello, Mr. President.
Well,
we were thinking there was going to be somebody
handler.
else.
Usually there's a handler.
Yeah. Some people consider Brock my handler, but I can assure you.
Some do.
I do not have a handler. What?
Okay.
Are you refuting that allegation?
I get most things that go to you to ask you to come speak. And it goes through me first. Because I get the contact us emails.
Sometimes they come my way, sometimes they don't, is what you're saying?
Correct. You only see what I feel is necessary for you to say.
Wow, that seems handlery. Just going to say.
Well,
I retract my previous statement.
Thank you.
He's my handler. Jen Psaki, her unnies in a bunch over Donald Trump, saying it's going to be a bloodbath. What's going to be a bloodbath? If China opens up and makes cars in Mexico and thinks they're going to sell it here, and Donald Trump doesn't get reelected and doesn't kibosh the everlasting liver out of that, it's going to be a bloodbath for the auto industry. Well, she couldn't believe that. She's got to jump on this. Jen Psaki does. And she says we're breaking apart a 2-minute MSNBC segment from the weekend. We're now on audio soundbite number 7. You can take any word that anybody says and twist it in any way you wish. And this is the semantic game that the media use because their facts suck. They cannot win on facts, so they have to win on spin. Here you go. Listen.
In January, he warned that there will be, quote, bedlam in this country if his criminal prosecution derailed his campaign.
How do you guys think everybody would react across America? All of the people who are pouring out to give him the candidacy for president of the United States for the GOP. If anything were to derail that in a judicial way, people would lose their minds, Jen. There would assuredly be bedlam. And then she talks about this, dehumanizing. Oh, it's all so fuzzy for these people. Go.
Late last year, he echoed the dehumanizing language of Adolf Hitler, comparing his political opponents to vermin and saying immigrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country.
You guys think that just because Adolf Hitler used a word that somebody else uses, he's channeling his inner Hitler? And by the way, a bunch of people who come across our border who are carrying their home country's flags are not people who are interested in being Americans, Jen. Then we've got to go, of course, to the good old pinata called Charlottesville.
Last month, he said there would be potential death and destruction if he was charged in the Manhattan criminal probe. And during his first term, he flat out refused to condemn the political violence at a white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, saying there were very fine people on both sides.
Jen, you know better. You are such a tragic hack. USA Today 4 years ago. Trump did condemn white supremacists. Too bad so many people won't listen. That's the headline. Can we once and for all kill off the distortion that Donald Trump called white supremacists very fine people? Because in his very same comments, people are always quoting from Virginia, Trump said, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists. Jen, that's so unfortunate. Then how about this? Remember Donald Trump asking, why don't we just shoot all the migrants? Why don't we just shoot all the protesters rather? Remember that fake news? Listen to this.
In 2020, he reportedly asked his defense secretary about shooting people who were protesting the death of George Floyd, saying, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something.
Factually incorrect. By the way, Mark Esper waited 2 whole years to tell us Trump wanted troops to shoot George Floyd protesters, and it only happened as he was writing a book of suck, by the way, which is, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, that's right, a New York Times bestseller. I'm sure you guys read it too, right? I must have missed it. Then there's this. How he incited violence merely by addressing the United States, by the people of these United States on January 6th, and telling everybody a beautiful story about patriotism. That, in Jen Psaki's eyes, is disqualifying. Listen.
And of course, his very words inspired violence on January 6, 2021, when he told a crowd of his supporters to walk down to the Capitol and fight like hell because, quote, you'll never take back our country with weakness.
There's nothing wrong with that, Jen. Fight like hell. Go peacefully and patriotically and let your voices be heard. And then what did he do when things started going sideways at the Capitol? He put up a video where he said, please, go home. Go home. Do not mess with law enforcement. We are law-abiding people. Go home. Disperse. And what did they do? They scrubbed it from the internet. And they prevented Jacob Chansley from using that video, which exists of him playing President Trump's plea for people to go home on the steps of the Capitol. They're so disgusting. And how about this one? 2 more to go. This one, the sanctimony you can taste. Go.
Trust me, I could go on and on and on. We all know by now that Trump's allusions to political violence are not merely rhetorical. His supporters take them literally. That's part of the big problem here. And he knows that too.
You are the problem. Donald Trump is just the head of the snake, but it's really you. You idiots, Jen Psaki sees. Finally, the ultimate suck of propaganda. Here you go.
So no, we did not miss the full context. This was not some meandering off-message comment. This is his message.
This is his message. So you hear it. You identify it. And you're listening and identifying it faster than ever. For that, we deserve a victory. We do. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, let's talk about this. When you cannot win as a member of the media, you know what to do. Just lie. Duh. I've got proof. Bloodbath proof. Next on the Wendy Bell radio program.
You have to love how Jen Psaki does a whole segment on taking things out of context and referencing them with things taken out of context.
Totally taken out of context. She twisted herself into a hypocritical pretzel. I don't know if you can get out of it. Really. Do you guys, those of you who followed me long ago, you remember how I would get blisters on my lips. And I had this weird allergic reaction to one of my lipsticks or whatever that I used commonly. And it was a brand, whatever was in it was for some reason causing me a lot of problems. So I made the switch to Patriot Switch. You guys hear me talk about this, where it's $1 to join. Think about Sam's Club and Costco. It's sort of like that without the bulk, right? You join Patriot Switch because you're tired of brands like Unilever and Johnson & Johnson and Procter & Gamble. By the way, look at tent.org for those companies because you'll find them. These companies who are all in with transgender surgeries and sanctuary bull crap and Black Lives Matter. And you're like, why am I giving my money to Target when what I buy at Target, my toiletries and home cleaning products, I can buy through Patriot Switch. So I made the switch and I switched all of my cosmetics, lipstick, foundation, mascara, eyeliner, all of it. Everything I use is from Patriot Switch and they're fantastic. Okay. Guess what went away? The allergies on my lips. And people say all the time that they are ravaged by perfumes and things and lotions and other products. Try, if you are an allergic person, if you have very sensitive skin, try Patriot Switch products because they are specifically designed with health and wellness in mind, which is why you will not find child safety caps on their products. They will not hurt you. They will not hurt your children, and they will not hurt your pets. PatriotSwitch.com. It's one of the smartest things I ever did, and I'm grateful I did every day that I open up a new one of their products. PatriotSwitch.com/Wendy. Do that. Go to PatriotSwitch.com/Wendy, and a screen will pop up. You'll see kind of a landing page with my name on it. Somebody who works with me and Patriot Switch will answer you if you share your phone number and your email address, and they'll connect with you and say, this is what we're all about, and open up the process to you. And then you decide. I personally love it. I love that my Target bill went from $400 a month to like $29, right? Because if Patriot Switch sold greeting cards, then I would probably get those there too. But PatriotSwitch.com. American made, American run, faith, family, freedom. I'm in. So what else is going on? 1375. You guys, if you are new, we noticed that, especially watching the pet show, they got so many tens of thousands of views on Saturday. I'm sure you're well past 150,000 now, whatever it is.
I think the last time I saw it was like 123.
Yeah, it's really off the charts, but it's your involvement. It's your interaction. It's your comments. It is your rumbles. So the thumbs up button that you hit, that puts us on the leaderboard more than having 13.7 watching us. So if you're interactive, if you like what you hear, and you hear something that resonates with you, hit that button. Let us know. That sends such a message, and it means so much to us. We're at 266.
We're 13.8.
So you guys, and it's growing. Like, what the heck? This is great. So welcome. We're obviously a radio program in a commercial break for another minute and a half. But we're so happy that you're here. And like what we do, it's important. And it's important that you're here. So thank you.
And here's the great thing. We have 8 thumbs down already.
That's good. That's good.
7.
If we're not at snarkogram level and people aren't liking us, then I'm doing something wrong.
Going back to so if you hit Wendy Bell contact us for the trolls, she doesn't see it. So you can email 100 times a day. Now, if you have something negative to say about me, those I do forward.
Yeah, you do. Whatever. Rocking it on a Monday. Thanks, Mama Bear. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. And Sherry, thanks for helping. Ultra, thank you for helping.
We got to get 3K.
Yes, I would super appreciate those of you who are new. Just go under the video.
Follow us, please.
Just go under the video box and join us. Hit the join button. Doesn't cost you anything. I think you'll like our locals page. Our locals page, locals, you see it right here. You can click on it, or you can go to locals.com. You can search Wendy Bell Radio. Our rundown every day, every article, all the stuff that I think is worthwhile, the sites, the authors, it's all there for you, so you can double check us. And I think that's super important. I mean, I'm never wrong, but
fake news. Jem Psaki.
So what a sad state of affairs we are in. And I don't know if you can tell if you're familiar enough with me and this program to realize that we have now settled into this comfortable ability to diagnose, assess, and then share with you what we think is pretty important stuff. Some things make me angry. Walking through this as a former television news anchor for many, many years, it used to make me angry. Recently made me angry. Now I've settled into just sort of a steely resolve, which I think is healthy, because you have to be able to identify the suck so that you can resist being affected by it. So I often go to sources like Politico. Politico is nowhere near my spectrum on politics. It's definitely a left-wing website. But every now and again, it's interesting to see what's going on at Politico, and then to listen to the voices of the media and the talking heads that appear on the weekend shows, basically drop these propaganda lines that they want you to pick up and run with. And the highly ill-informed voter will. You will be armed with the tools to refute this insanity. Headline: reaction to Trump's speech. When is a bloodbath not a bloodbath? Defenders of the former president say he was speaking about the plight of the auto industry, which in fact he was. So here's the story, and then we're going to play for you some accompanying audio sound bites. Representative Mike Turner said Sunday it was clear that former President Donald Trump's reference to a bloodbath should he lose the November election pertained to the auto industry, not to a surge of political violence, as Jen Psaki just tried desperately to convince you of. At a rally in Ohio Saturday, Trump said, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. In introducing discussion of the remark, ABC News host Martha Raddatz said that it came in a section of the speech where Trump was discussing the auto industry, though she did not say it was definitely connected to that. Now, I will just freely tell you, as a student of the field in 1988, starting at the University of Colorado, I'd say 1990, as I got into the College of Journalism and Mass Communication and really started paying attention to the media. You can twist a photograph. You can twist a headline. You can selectively quote people, all of which are expressly forbidden. If you are an objective, honest presenter of quote unquote news, you do not take it out of its natural habitat. You present it in the form in which it is in real life, and then you let people decide. This is very selective, what Martha Raddatz has done. In fact, I want you to hear, before I continue into this random act of journalism, I want you to hear this ABC News open. This is not Martha Raddatz. This is a different woman. But this is the beginning. This is the hook, the grab of the evening news after Donald Trump's rally in Ohio on Saturday night. This is their takeaway of Donald Trump. Go.
We begin tonight with the race for the White House and former President Trump's campaign now on the defensive after his fiery rhetoric at a rally in Dayton, Ohio on Saturday night. Trump warning while discussing the economy that there would be a, quote, bloodbath if he is not reelected in November. This after the former president kicked off the event by paying tribute to those who attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. President Biden's campaign swiftly denouncing those comments as threats of political violence.
It's so idiotic. It's so idiotic. But did you hear the parallels between what this ABC News hack and Jen Psaki said? You'll begin to hear the same lines again and again and again. They are receiving government-handed talking points. This is propaganda. So, a bloodbath. Let's listen in. Let's hear what Donald Trump really said about the bloodbath in its context. And then you tell me if your panties should be in a bunch. Go.
You know, Mexico has taken over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it. Went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
Who in their right mind would ever think that that means he is going to exact some kind of dangerous political revenge, or that there's going to be some kind of violence or whatnot? You know exactly what he just said. It is petty, it is petulant, and it is totally in keeping with the propagandist media to spew this kind of nonsense. Well, I want to hear what Martha Raddatz said, because she heard exactly what you just heard from Donald Trump. If China is allowed to build big auto manufacturing plants in Mexico, they ought not believe they're going to come in with their cars to our United States without having U.S. workers. We're going to tax them 100%. Ain't going to happen. But you need to reelect me so that I can hold them accountable. If that doesn't happen, there's going to be a bloodbath in the auto industry. Here's Martha Raddatz, what she heard.
That was just the beginning. Trump stoking more fear about migrants at the southern border. Trump at one point saying they're not people.
I don't know if you call them people. In some cases, they're not people, in my opinion, but I'm not allowed to say that because the radical left says it's a terrible thing to say. These are bad. These are animals.
So Martha Raddatz is trying to say that Donald Trump thinks that people coming across the border are bad people. Some of them shouldn't even be considered people. How awful, how dehumanizing, how terrible. How could he do that? Well, that's what you would expect from a white supremacist. That's what you get from the fringe. That's MAGA. Well, that's not at all what he really said. In fact, oh, wait, we have what he actually did really say about migrants who are MS-13 gang members not being people. Listen.
When I see it going, but I got to know all these people. They're very smart, very streetwise. And I would do the same thing. If I had prisons that were teeming with MS-13 and all sorts of people that they've got to take care of for the next 50 years, right? Young people, they're in jail for years. And if you call them people, I don't know if you call them people. In some cases, they're not people, in my opinion. But I'm not allowed to say that because the radical left says that's a terrible thing to say. They say you have to vote against him because did you hear what he said about humanity? I've seen the humanity, and these are bad. These are animals, okay? And we have to stop it. We can't have another Lakin. We have so many people. We have so many people being hurt so badly and being killed. They're sending their prisoners to see us. They're bringing them right to the border. and they're dropping them off, and we're allowing them to come in. And these are tougher than anybody we've got in the country. These are hardened criminals.
Did you guys honestly think that he was talking about just regular migrants? Of course not. Of course not. But of course, when you have Nancy Pelosi and her pterodactyl hands coming out of the woodwork to chirp in on the bloodbath comment, you know that it's all being used politically to try to harm the president. Is it working? Let's listen to frantic, flapping Nancy Pelosi.
Because he's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath? There's something wrong here. How respectful I am of the American people and their goodness. But how much more do they have to see from him to understand that this isn't what our country is about? Praising Hitler, praising the Russians.
Oh boy. Isn't that unfortunate? It's unfortunate, but you heard it. You know what's going on. Well, in fact, we've got a little mashup of the media reacting to the bloodbath, which we just debunked and just gave you its context. They, of course, don't care. Here's your propaganda.
But as Politico.com reports tonight on the, quote, bloodbath at the RNC,
Headlines calling it a, quote, bloodbath. Be a bloodbath. Not only is it going to be a bloodbath, but after they leave New Hampshire, it's a bloodbath on her home turf. That's really tough. Trump has left a lot of corpses in his wake. I mean, we can count the bodies.
As part of the, quote, MAGA drive to take over Maricopa County. And the headline refers to it as an impending bloodbath.
Columnist Charles Blow has a new piece for the New York Times entitled A Biden Bloodbath.
2018 midterms, you can bet that they 100% are fearing a slaughter. In fact, the word bloodbath and massacre come up frequently.
The Republican Party will be destroyed. It's going to be a bloodbath.
There's going to be a bloodbath one way or the other.
Bloodbath for Bernie Sanders.
It's been a bloodbath there, shaping up to be a bloodbath.
Head off a bloodbath in next year's crucial midterm.
Off-year elections are often a bloodbath.
This week's bloodbath for Democrats.
A bloodbath at the ballot box.
There could be a Republican bloodbath.
They'll talk about a bloodbath.
It's a bloodbath. I have to talk about you. And
It's going to be a bloodbath all day long.
Is in for a bloodbath.
Hasn't been a bloodbath on the way down. Donald Trump bloodbath. Be a bloodbath.
Predicted to be a bloodbath.
May not be the bloodbath.
It would be a bloodbath.
More of a bloodbath.
It's going to be a bloodbath in November.
Possible Biden bloodbath this November.
A bloodbath on Wall Street.
There's going to be a bloodbath
in Alabama into a bloodbath.
Obviously, there was a bloodbath.
It was a bloodbath. We're down 800 points.
this bloodbath at Department of Homeland Security,
And it's a bloodbath today.
There was going to be this bloodbath.
Election bloodbath.
it could be a bloodbath for them.
Bloodbath, possibly.
Bloodbath that went through with the Attorney General.
Bloodbath 99 days out. The bloodbath is going to look like
Presided over a bloodbath in the diplomatic corps.
Absolute, in my opinion, bloodbath. The Democrats are
Calling it a ticket sales turned into a bloodbath.
Ticket sales for singer Taylor Swift's latest tour.
It's safe to say the fans had a bloodbath for the company after the fiasco.
Hi, a bloodbath. We've all said bloodbath 75,000 times. Everything's a bloodbath. I don't even know if I've even used the word before today, right? But when Donald Trump says it and they can take it out of context and they can twist it and they can trot out their high school musical theatrical performers like Nancy Pelosi, if you don't see what's going on, well, you're going to need to spend more time here at the Wendy Bell radio program because we'll get you over the hump. All right, when we get back, this is what media targeting looks like. I want to read you something from Jonathan Turley about the Associated Press being under fire for this salacious article about an Ohio GOP Senate candidate. It's just blatant garbage, and they don't care. Next on the Wendy Bell radio program. I mean, honestly, Brock, you and I have spoken for thousands and thousands of hours. We've talked about everything, right?
I don't think I've ever uttered that.
I don't think I've ever heard you say bloodbath.
It's
I
almost
don't
like
even know what it means. Like you have an idea of what it means, but what does it really mean?
Well, it's used in financial circles. It is used in financial circles. I mean, I get what they're saying. It's like a slaughter.
Where I don't.
It's like
right.
the Civil War was a bloodbath.
Yes.
Normandy, bloodbath.
Yes.
I get it.
Right.
I mean,
but
you're
it's
talking
used in
about
so many ways.
You're talking about an election or
yeah.
But they did this with insurrection.
Yes.
You know, they did it with insurrection. How many times have you heard the word insurrection before they did
Never.
it? You heard coup.
That's why I remember, and I think I called you, and I was like, "Are you watching this? They're all saying insurrection. Like, what are they saying?"
And then they would show you the text that said actual insurrection.
Yeah.
See, what they leave out is we all use coup because that's what they do when they try to install governments around the world.
Yes.
Anywho.
I very interesting. Very, very. Hey, let me tell you about Beverly Hills MD, BHMD1.com. It is this product right here that has
Magic Eraser.
It is Magic Eraser, specifically underneath here. And you were in the studio this morning and you were looking, and he was looking at my face and he was like, "It works." And I said, "I know." Whatever this is, which you're going to find out about when you go to BHMD1, Dr. John Lakey, kind of like plastic surgeon to the stars, well regarded for his ability to help the red carpet folks to put, it's like a Photoshop for your face. It works. And so he created a formula that was marketable. What?
We just hit 14,128. We beat the Donald Trump number.
That is so cool. So he did this and he marketed it. And the only way you can get it is through people like me. BHMD, Beverly Hills MD 1.com/Wendy. More than 8 million views of this particular video because he goes through science of what it does and how it works. There's no injections. It's literally right in a tube. And you can get it at BHMD1.com. Of all of the stuff so far, it's my fave. It's off the charts. Beverly Hills MD, BHMD1.com/Wendy.
Ultra wants to know who's Wendy call when she wants to talk politics.
I don't really talk politics.
No, just work.
So you just heard 2 minutes of the media talking about various bloodbaths. Bloodbath. And then they glom on to Donald Trump saying it in Ohio. And they take it out of context, as is per usual, as everything that Jen Psaki did in the second hour of this program, the beginning of the second hour of this program. And it's disgusting. You know, I might be one of those naive journalists, but when I was a little girl growing up in California and I sat down with my parents because they would make a martini, Dad would come home from work, Mom and he would make a martini, they'd sit down in their chairs, my sister and I would sit on the couch behind them, and they would turn on the evening news. And we had Connie Chung. She was the anchor in Los Angeles when I was growing up. And I thought it was awful. I thought it was so boring. And so I got interested and I started paying attention. And I watched everybody. And I listened to everybody. And I always came away missing something. There's something missing. There's something missing. There's a connection that's missing. What is it? And so I told my parents when I was probably, 11, that I was going to grow up and I was going to be a television news anchor. And they were like, "Oh, that's great, honey. Good luck." Right? It's like saying, "I'm going to go to Hollywood and I'm going to become an actor or a model." And parents are like, "Okay, good luck with that." Like, nobody gets to do that. And I did. And I cared profoundly. And I went to graduate school at the best journalism program there is at the University of Missouri in Columbia. And I wrote a master's thesis. And I paid attention. And I listened. And I cared. And that is gone. And it galls me to no end. It galls me to no end to tell you that the Associated Press sucks. Sucks. Headline: Associated Press under fire for salacious article on Ohio Senate candidate Bernie Moreno. This is Jonathan Turley. JonathanTurley.org. You know him. He's a law professor. He's from George Washington University. This is what he writes. This is how gross we are in this country with propaganda. The Associated Press is reportedly looking at a possible lawsuit after a bombshell article on GOP Ohio Senate candidate Bernie Moreno was found to contain serious errors and contradictions. The article by Brian Sladisco suggested that Moreno had posted on the website Adult Friend Finder to find male lovers. The story was eagerly picked up by newspapers like the Washington Post. Moreno is a Trump-backed anti-establishment candidate who's on the ballot tomorrow in the Ohio primary. After being pressed by conservative sites like Breitbart News, AP admitted that a claim of having, quote, geolocation data implicating Moreno is untrue. And Moreno's counsel has shown that an intern admitted that the posting was a prank. Moreover, the AP knew and reported on the admission from the intern, but ran the story anyway, and the false claim of geolocational data support. The article is being denounced as a political hit piece, and AP has reportedly brought in a major defense attorney to handle the legal repercussions. So we're going to lie about a guy who's been endorsed by Trump, who has a really good chance of winning. We're going to create this salacious claim that he was looking for dudes for love online, lying say that they have geolocating data that they don't have. All of it's bunk. It's total garbage. And they knew it was garbage, did it anyway, and weighed the cost of possible litigation. What are they going to say to this guy, Moreno? Well, we'll give you $500,000 to make this go away. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but they are more interested in smearing their opponents than they are in doing well and representing their own constituents on the left. That's what I'm saying. And the media, being their propaganda wing, dutifully carries their water and pushes out garbage like this. They know it's garbage. Do you know if I knowingly lied in a television report that I would have presented ever in my career as a television news reporter and anchor, I would have self-mutilated inside. There's no way. There is no price that is big enough to allow that sacred feeling of doing the best and not lying and compromising that. This is a small example of what happens every single day. You just got 2 minutes of it at the beginning of this hour with Jen Psaki, pretending to put into context everything out of context that she took that Donald Trump said. You just heard the context of Donald Trump talking about the bloodbath on the auto industry and talking about MS-13 gang members and the legally insane, dangerous people being let out of prisons around the world who are flooding to our country and are already here. You heard him say some of them can't be called people. They're animals, essentially. Anybody who bashes in somebody's head with a metal pole, a la Laken Riley, is not, in my mind, a human being. And that doesn't make me racist or phobic in any capacity. It makes me a common sense truth teller. Facts. Hour number 3 of the Wendy Bell radio program is on tap. My goodness, is this day going quickly. So we're going to do a little government 101 for you. Don't govern, propagandize. Barack Obama did something specific in 2012 that has caused us to be flooded with this media suck today. We got to talk about it so that you can identify it. We will next on the Wendy Bell radio program. That is amazing, you guys.
We really toppled the number because we have 1,000 watching on X.
That's nutty.
So over 15.
Only 3,000 rumbles. Really?
That's going to hurt us on the leaderboard.
Now look. 14,000 of you. It takes nothing to hit the little green thumb up, okay? Here's what I'm going to say. And I know it's big, and I know it's bold, but I know that you can do it. I want 500 before the next. Can we please? That sounded very demandy-ish, but I am demanding.
Yes.
500 rumbles by the time I get back from the bathroom. Can you please do that? Can you please do that? Hit that button, the thumb up. 500 of you. We have 14,000 watching. I'll be right back. Please don't let me down.
Time.
Please don't let me down.
Wow.
Please don't let me down.
You too can help us starve.
No, I give you my heart and soul every day. That's a fact.
Go potty. Who's a good girl? So I'm going to pimp some stuff. Check out Sean's show tonight. The Battlegrounds Live, 5 o'clock on Rumble. You can also hear his podcast on Premiere Network, which is a big get for Sean. Premiere's the biggest, baddest radio. You guys probably don't know Premiere unless you're in this business. Most people don't, but you will recognize the names of Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, all the big ones. I don't know if Mark Levin's one. He might be Westwood one. The big ones, Clay and Bach, Glenn Beck. But check Sean's show out on Rebel 5 o'clock, Battlegrounds. Follow him. His show's growing. Check out one of my favorite shows on Rebel, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, is People's Pundit. We had him on last week. It's called Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit, Rich Barris. This is the way to get, we talk about grassroots and how do you help? You shop local. You go to places like Riverbend Ranch from Patriot Switch. Places like, and Moink is not a sponsor, but they farm from local all over the country, So these are local farmers just through a conglomerate almost of Moink. You can also get rid of the mainstream media by checking out Sean's podcast, by watching our podcasts, by watching our show on Rumble, by watching a Rich Barris on Rumble. And there's plenty of them. I know Salty Cracker gets a ton of views every day. There's plenty of things to watch that people are just going to give you unfiltered facts because they're not under the constraints of shareholders. But if you want to get rid of the mainstream media, watch shows like this, watch shows like Sean and Rich and Salty Cracker and all of them, the Dan Bonginos, the Steven Crowders, all boats rise. Like if just those 5 shows do their job, we can get rid of the mainstream media.
So I go into the bathroom.
Uh-oh. You didn't give them enough time. I'm going to defend them.
I'm not looking right now. I'm not going to look for another 3 minutes. Africa started playing. There's a very loud radio in the bathroom.
I don't know why.
I don't know.
Why does it have to be loud in the bathroom?
I don't know, because maybe the lady who works at the radio station next to us is hard of hearing. I don't know.
Okay, maybe she's hard of hearing. But by the time you hear it in the bathroom, it's what we call a delay in radio. You're 10 seconds behind. So if it goes dead, you've already been dead for 10 seconds.
Let's see here.
Now would be a good time.
Now would be a good time for me to tell you guys about Texas Bullion Exchange. TexasBullion.com. And they had sent me something, and I wanted to add it. My goodness, did I muck it up? Shoot.
It's a website that you can check out they have like a downloadable
They have like a guidebook.
A guidebook.
It shows everything that they do. TexasBullion.com. One of the things that I really enjoyed about them is the enthusiasm. When they reached out to me and said, hey, we're following your show. We really like what you do. Would you allow us to maybe sponsor your program? And I was like, well, I don't know anything about you, so we need to get in bed together first. You understand what I mean? I want to know who you are. I want to know what you do. I want to be able to do my own research about you because I'm not going to put you out there and have you not be reputable. And they spent hours with me. And it was great. It was great to understand about precious metals. I don't know about precious metals. I know that we should have them in our portfolio or we should have them in our hands. And I love that about Texas Bullion Exchange. TexasBullion.com, 855-927-5557. The phone number is super easy. That I find is my preferable way. I want to talk to somebody. 855-927-5557, getting gold, platinum, silver, palladium, getting gold bars, getting gold coins, gold rounds, silver coins. You've seen me hold these up. This is the company I trust. This is the company I believe in. And I think if you do some due diligence and work with them, you will be very pleased to give your future a breathing room kind of, savings plan. Makes you feel better at night when you've got this stuff on your side. Precious metals, TexasBullion.com, TexasBullion.com.
And that link for their free guide and the video is in the Rumble under the Seymour.
Right underneath our box, yes.
Yeah.
Did my browbeating help at all?
No.
Hey, it helped. I got 310 people. That is effective.
Well,
that
you
is
didn't get
great.
310. I mean, there were already something.
300.
4, 3, 2, 1. Wendy Bell. Inspiring solutions to save America, one show at a time. Are you ready to get on board?
When are you guys gonna learn? The more you indict, the more we unite. Facts. It's Trump 2024. We don't care. You heard me? We already made our mind up. You already know when the hood got your back. Man, they deep in the hood. Gangsters hollering about Trump 2024. You heard me? Woo, woo, wah. Gangsters. The hood got this man back. I'm just trying to tell you. You heard me? And we ain't stupid, man. American people, man. We ain't all them talking about lockdowns and back when the masks and all that. They got a new virus coming and it's gonna be, man, nobody don't care. Ain't fooling nobody no more with none of that. New jack, man, nobody being fooled no more. We all the way up, you heard me? It's Trump 2024. That's what it's gonna be, cause we ain't having nothing else.
From sea to shining sea, 3 hours of bold truth and excellence. The Wendy Bell Radio Program.
Well, hello, America. Welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Wendy Bell Radio program is on the clock, and I really do want to invite you to join our ever-growing Wendy Bell Radio army. We have a family, 2 million people strong. Each one individual, 2 million strong, has downloaded our Wendy Bell Radio podcast onto their device. And we're so grateful. Wendy Bell Radio, wherever you get your favorite listening materials, like us, share us, 5-star review us, follow us, just keep coming back. I think a lot of us, as we begin to connect more dots and we pay more attention to the propaganda, to the stories that they're desperate for you and I to believe, because the idea is to overload you, ultimately confuse you enough, introduce so many ridiculous notions like transgender surgery is somehow gender-affirming care. All of this nonsense is basically meant to whittle us down, to wear us down, to wear down our defenses, to render us incapable of identifying when we're being lied to and when we're not. And it's not dissimilar to the propaganda from Adolf Hitler. It's really not. And I find this very interesting. I blame Barack Obama for so much of what's going on in this country because I really think he was the architect, the poster child of so much progressive suck. And I was against Barack Obama in 2007, the first go-round. Who's this guy? Who's this community organizer guy who served 2 years or whatever time he served in the Senate? Who is he? What does he bring to the table other than that he is African American? Did he have great ideas? Did he have something that was off the charts, extraordinary for America? No, he didn't. America thought it was time to get out of the racist leg irons of reputation and prove not just to itself, but to the world that we were not a discriminatory people. And so for a lot of people, the vote went to Barack Obama. And it was a personal thing. I did not vote for the guy. It had nothing to do with him being black. He didn't stand for anything. He didn't share my values. I didn't get that love of country. I didn't feel ever at all when he spoke the way I felt when I was on the phone, albeit briefly, with Stuart Rhodes when he called me from federal prison on Friday. I never got that from Barack Obama. And we have him to blame for the flood of government propaganda that is in our country and around the world today. We really do. And I did not know this, so I'm certainly by no means an expert, but I want to share with you what I found. It is an article from 2000 and I'm trying to find the exact date on this, 2013. July 14th, 2013. So coming up on 11 years ago. This is the headline. This is in a website called foreignpolicy.com. Never even heard of this either. Here's the headline. U.S. repeals propaganda ban. Spreads government-made news to Americans. I'd say, what? What happened in 2013, which would lead to foreignpolicy.com writing this? Well, this is the article. For decades, a so-called anti-propaganda law prevented the U.S. government's mammoth broadcasting arm from delivering programming to American audiences. But on July 2nd, that came silently to an end with the implementation of a new reform passed in January. The result? An unleashing of thousands of hours per week of government-funded radio and TV programs for domestic U.S. consumption in a reform initially criticized as a green light for U.S. domestic propaganda efforts. So just what happened? Until this month, a vast ocean of U.S. programming produced by the Broadcasting Board of Governors, such as Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, and the Middle East broadcasting networks could only be viewed or listened to at broadcast quality in foreign countries. The programming varies in tone and quality, but its breadth is vast. It's viewed in more than 100 countries in 61 languages. And the topics covered include human rights abuses in Iran, human trafficking across Asia, and on-the-ground reporting in Egypt and Iraq. The restriction of these broadcasts was due to something called the Smith-Mundt Act, M-U-N-D-T, Smith-Mundt Act, a long-standing piece of legislation that has been amended numerous times over the years, perhaps most consequentially by Arkansas Senator J. William Fulbright. In the 1970s, Fulbright was no friend of VOA and Radio Free America, Voices of America, and Radio Free Europe, and moved to restrict them from domestic distribution, saying they should be given the opportunity to take their rightful place in the graveyard of Cold War relics. Fulbright's amendment to Smith-Mundt was bolstered later in 1985 by a Nebraska senator named Edward Zirinsky, who argued that such propaganda should be kept out of America as to distinguish the U.S. from the Soviet Union, where domestic propaganda is a principal government activity. Those two men sold their amendments on sensible rhetoric. American taxpayers shouldn't be funding propaganda for American audiences. So did Congress just tear down the American public's last defense against domestic propaganda? Yes. And this BBG, and I'm going to go back to that is the Broadcasting Board of Governors. Their spokeswoman insists that they're not a propaganda outlet and their flagship services present fair and accurate news. But the reality here is that in 2012, the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012 passed as part of the 2013 National Defense Authorization Act, and it went into effect in January, or I guess it's July of 2013. So what was this? And why did this happen? Well, Barack Obama went in there and they fiddled with this act, which would prevent the airing of U.S. government propaganda on American airwaves to an American audience. And they changed it to allow government propaganda on our airwaves. Do you guys notice things recently get really hairy propaganda-wise? This wasn't allowed to happen with these protections before. But when this was passed by a Democrat-controlled Congress, and of course, super-duperly espoused by Barack Obama, Mr. Great Transformation, that's what he campaigned on. He was going to transform this beautiful constitutional republic into the likeness of suck, which we're watching right now in real time. He wanted to tweak that Smith-Mundt Act, and that opened the door for government-sponsored propaganda. And that is what you and I have been experiencing, whether we've been aware of it or not. Were you aware of it during COVID because it was propaganda? Probably not. Were you aware of it during those election years? Probably not. 2016, 2020, probably not. But are you paying attention more and more, specifically since January 6th, when all of their television networks, Fox, ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, all of them, no matter their bias, their political slant, all were saying the same thing. Now, this is the scary part about the Democrats. They play the long game. They'll do things very slowly to chip away so that ultimately 10, 20, 30 years down the road, the skids are greased. That is this. Now, when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, I want to go back and I want to read you something. How many years does it take for history to repeat itself? Why Wisconsin Senator Joseph McCarthy, his rise and fall, might answer that very question next. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm going to a service provider, right? Say it's an orthodontist, and I'm going to go, I have to go because my teeth have moved. I have to get Invisalign or some crap. When I go to the orthodontist, I want my orthodontist to have a beautiful smile, right? Right. When you go to the gym, you want the owner, the trainers of the gym to be fit, right? You don't want them to be slovenly and unkempt, right? You want them to be trim. Well, Kelly Morgan from Morgane's Fitness sent me a photograph over the weekend of this skimpy bikini that she is going to be wearing in a bodybuilding contest coming up in like 32 days. To say, oh my God, I could never pull it off. That's why Kelly Morgan is so successful at Morgan's Fitness, because she works her butt off to be the example of the place. And that's what she is. She's fit. She's smart. She's forward thinking. She's a planner. She's an entrepreneur. And she invites you to join her at Morgan's Fitness in Somerset and Cambria counties in Pennsylvania. MORGAINZ fitness.com. It's nice to go into a gym and have somebody who's a woman, if you're a female, who can show you all the machines and tell you what you need to know. That's Morgan's Fitness. Special Air Force veteran mama, Kelly Morgan. And I can't wait to be able to share with you guys bodybuilding pictures of her when she competes. Can you imagine being in a bodybuilding? Can you imagine any of that? Getting all greased up, all ripped. Now, I could probably, my biceps are pretty impressive. They're huge.
Well,
so I could probably
you didn't do any push-ups today.
I did not. My wrist hurts. It does.
You know what they say excuses are like?
Well, you know what? I can tell you that my wrist hurts, and I don't really care what you think, and it's not an excuse. It's a fact. Suck it.
Wow. Okay.
Anyone want to dance? Or just Brock? Or just Brock? We have a variety of different sponsors this week, but we are at near capacity. And I am super geeked by that. That is because of you guys. So
people are calling you a slacker. 341.
Thank you. 12.5 still, 12.4 watching, 1,100 on X. Thanks, you guys. Sherry is humping it. She's trying hard to beat the 4.06 rumbles. Hey, look, I will tell you right now, I am flabbergasted that we crossed over 14,000.
Yeah.
That's,
I sent our friend a message.
I mean, duh. I do have to send our friend a message, and I will do that. All this broad says is suck.
Well, it's a lot of that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit, I have to say.
Sometimes brevity is the way to deal with things.
Would you rather me say, you know what, these people really frustrate me. I wish they would stop lying. Or should I just say, you know what, they suck. They suck. Wendy, if you need some heavy bag training, I'll let you tie me up in a burlap sack and beat the living out of me.
She has a heavy bag. She just doesn't use it.
Because my wrist hurts. No, it's because I was lazy.
Thank you.
Lazy, and I put it off, and I still have put it off, and maybe I will today.
I still wish there was a way we could compete.
I think that's hilarious that you think I want to compete with you.
No, it's not. It's not the competing. It's the if one person does it, you're almost forced to do it.
So I want to play for you some audio from Ken Buck. And I want to say this, speaking of propagandists, may I present to you this gentleman. Now, he's a bit of a conundrum because he's one of the highest rated of the Liberty Score Republicans in Congress. He's got like a 96% Liberty score. So he votes in accordance with traditional common sense conservative values almost all the time. Except somebody got to him. Somebody's got something on Ken Buck. Because he is about to drop the biggest whopper of propaganda on you. All right? And I want you to hear it because this is what we are up against. This is the kind of nonsense Barack Obama and Congress modifying the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012. This is what they have given us. Listen.
Hi, this is Congressman Ken Buck. I have decided not to seek a sixth term in the U.S. House of Representatives. Too many Republican leaders are lying to America, claiming that the 2020 election was stolen, describing January 6th as an unguided tour of the Capitol, and asserting that the ensuing prosecutions are a weaponization of our justice system. These insidious narratives breed widespread cynicism and erode Americans' confidence in the rule of law. It is impossible for the Republican Party to confront our problems and offer a course correction for the future while being obsessively fixated on retribution and vengeance for contrived injustices of the past. Being your representative in Washington, D.C. has been the greatest professional thrill and highest honor of my life. May God bless you, and may God bless these United States of America.
Just lied for 50 seconds to you. It's essentially what he's saying. Because I know that he is. You know that he is. So there you go. That's what it sounds like. Okay? This is nothing new. So I started thinking about Joseph McCarthy, right? And the whole McCarthy scare, the McCarthyism, these witch hunts trying to find, and they really weren't witch hunts in some regards, trying to dig up communist infiltration, not just in government, but in media and everything. And this guy is a poster child of ego running away with himself. I want to read this to you. This is from the U.S. Senate. This is from June 9th, 1954. And as I'm reading this to you, I want you to tell me if it sounds very familiar to things that are going on today, 70 years later. Wisconsin Republican Senator Joseph R. McCarthy rocketed to public attention in 1950 with his allegations that hundreds of communists had infiltrated the State Department and other federal agencies. These charges struck a particularly responsive note at a time of deepening national anxiety about the spread of world communism. McCarthy relentlessly continued his anti-communist campaign in 1953 when he gained a new platform as the chairman of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. He quickly put his imprint on that subcommittee, shifting its focus from investigating fraud and waste in the executive branch to hunting for communists. He conducted scores of hearings, calling hundreds of witnesses in both public and closed sessions. Sound familiar? A dispute over his hiring of staff without consulting other committee members prompted the panel's 3 Democrats to resign in mid-1953. Republican senators also stopped attending, in part because so many of the hearings were called on short notice or held away from the nation's capital. And as a result, McCarthy and his chief counsel, Roy Cohn, largely ran the show by themselves, relentlessly grilling and insulting witnesses. Harvard law dean Irvin Griswold described McCarthy's role as judge, jury, prosecutor, castigator, and press agent all in one. In the spring of 1954, McCarthy picked a fight with the U.S. Army, charging lax security at a top-secret Army facility. The Army then responded that the senator had sought preferential treatment for a recently drafted subcommittee aide. Amidst this controversy, McCarthy temporarily stepped down as chairman for the duration of the 3-month nationally televised spectacle known to history as the Army McCarthy hearings. The Army hired Boston lawyer Joseph Welch to make its case. At a session on June 9th, 1954, McCarthy charged that one of the Welch's attorneys had ties to a communist organization. As an amazed television audience looked on, Welch responded with the immortal lines that ultimately ended McCarthy's career. This is what he said: "Until this moment, Senator, I think I never really gauged your cruelty or your recklessness." When McCarthy tried to continue his attack, Welch angrily interrupted. "Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency?" Overnight, McCarthy's immense national popularity evaporated. Censured by his Senate colleagues, ostracized by his party, and ignored by the press, McCarthy died 3 years later, 48 years old, and a broken man. That was 70 years ago this summer. How much of what I just read to you do you identify going on in government today? January 6 hearings much? Do not go anywhere. When we come back, my friends, got to talk to you about public schools. Public Schools 101. Don't educate, indoctrinate. What's happening in Chicago with the primary tomorrow? Oh my gosh. Wait for it. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. So think about that. here's McCarthy, right? And communism was here. Look at how much it's been proliferated since then. It was here. It wasn't some crazy, outlandish idea. How he ran with it and became tyrannical and became dictatorial. Think about what the January 6th committee did. The same thing. Nancy Pelosi refused their being bipartisanship. So when Jim Jordan and Jim Banks, and I forget who the other person was, who wanted to be on the committee, were denied by then Speaker Nancy Pelosi, right? We knew that the jig was up. And when they placed the two hacks, Kinzinger and Crybaby Cheney, both of them crybabies, and put them on there, it is the exact thing that happened 70 years ago in these Senate hearings. Except then Senator McCarthy made a wild allegation, just like the Associated Press made a wild allegation about a GOP Senate candidate in Ohio, saying that he was linked to some website looking for gay hookups. There is a statute of limitations on crazy, and the pendulum ultimately swings back, and then the cycle closes 70 years later. We're due for that same history that gobbled up and spat out Joseph McCarthy and led to his early death. It's time for that cycle to repeat itself, and we're watching it. That's my hypothesis.
349. Maybe we should start holding Toto to 350.
Did that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Brock. So you had Obama fiddling with laws, with Congress, opening the doors to the floodgates of government-sponsored propaganda that gave rise, as the internet grew, that gave rise to that turnstile, the revolving door between the CIA and the FBI and Twitter and Facebook and all of them.
And when did they all come around? Right around Facebook. Has Facebook been around? How long's Facebook been around for? Like big.
Since the early 2000s.
Is this early 2000s?
I think I first joined in 2009. I will say one of the finest things that's ever happened to me is not being on Facebook. You don't realize how much you pay attention to stupid crap, and it gobbles up your time. There's no benefit to me on Facebook, you know?
No, Fat Bottoms Girls is only when we get to 4,000.
What does that mean?
Someone said play Fat Bottom Girls. That's only at 4,000.
What's Fat Bottom Girl?
It's the song by Queen.
Mm. Am I stupid for not knowing that? It's okay. You can
I wouldn't
say
say you were stupid.
I am from a different generation than you.
You say that. We're literally 5 years apart. That's not a generation.
5 years is a generational thing. Are you Generation X?
No.
Oh, look at that. Oh,
I don't
generational apart.
Yeah, but those
do you
are
even know what generation you are?
I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah, I understand that, but let's see what you are. Let's see, Generation X.
Those are arbitrary
years.
numbers.
They're not arbitrary.
You tell me I'm an old man.
You are actually.
I am what?
You're part of Gen X, 1985 to 1965 to 1980.
Okay.
Let's see what Generation Z is. I think all my kids are. 1997 to 2013. Yes. All of my kids are in the same generation. That's interesting.
Come on, can we give 3.5?
This is really
Gen X just is a generation that
it was great.
We're in between. We didn't have phones, but then we had phones.
Yeah.
We were feral, like you latchkey kids.
Oh yeah.
You came and went. And
yeah. You know, I had a mom who was a stay-at-home mom.
So did I.
So I was very fortunate in that regard. But again, I don't really remember a lot of deviance or weird crap happening with friends whose parents might have both been working. It was just a different world.
Why is Brock wearing an orange jumpsuit? Is he on work release? Yes.
This is work release.
Wow. There's something in my eye. It's driving me nutty.
It's called dryball.
Wow, I can hit you so fast you won't even see it coming.
Please.
I don't want him to think I'm winking at him. That's creepy. Right?
Wow.
That's creepy.
Wow.
This has gone fast.
It has.
Brock and I we gauge each other's vibe on that. He'll be like, I thought I went fast. And I'm like, me too. We have to be on the same wavelength. Continuity.
Is that what it is?
It's continuity. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Here you go, Salty.
Where cheating begins, where kind of fudging things a little bit, trying to get an advantage, then goes into complete corruption. Because a lot of people are on that continuum right now, and it does not end well. It does not end well. And I think there are so many people out there who are frantic to preserve various narratives that they either got browbeaten, bribed, blackmailed, or otherwise into being a part of. And they do not end well, because those of us who live in Realville, who are common sense conservative men and women, who believe in our country, who love our families, who understand that North is still North and that right does not have a dollar amount connected to it. We see this. And it is disgusting. It is discouraging. And it's really hard as a parent to raise children in this environment. It really is. Where now our kids are almost like political pawns. They're certainly not getting educated. I mean, the disparity between United States education, the aptitude of our children in public schools specifically, say vis-a-vis China or India or even England. Huge. We are not creating rocket science here. And we're not creating rocket scientists. It's not about education. It's about indoctrination. And you needn't look any further than Chicago, Illinois. I was born in Chicago. My parents met at Northwestern. I love Chicago. It is a beautiful hellscape right now. Hellscape. Ruined by the likes of Lori Lightfoot and her tragic box-checking failures. And then this new guy, Brandon Johnson, whatever he is, he's just the next, he's Lori Lightfoot light, right? But what do you get when you take a teachers' union and high school students and an election and you merge them together to use those high school students to vote for the things you like? I call that gross. I call that actionable. And it's what happened in Chicago. I want to read you this quickly. We got a little audio soundbite too. This is from ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Conservatives decry Chicago votes parade to polls with CPS students, Chicago Public School students, involving a rally at the Chicago Teachers Union headquarters. There's not even an attempt to blur the line here between education and political activism. They're not even trying. They're saying, we want you to come and vote Democrat. Come on, young people. You're too stupid yet to know what's going on. So we are going to help you. We're going to help register you to vote, and then we're going to encourage you to vote. And we're going to wrap it up in some kind of a pep rally. Rah, rah. You can do this. Oh, awesome. And it's all under the guise of homelessness. Some referendum to take $1 million or more real estate transfers and tax the snot out of them to create a fund of money to pay for housing. Ain't for the homeless people, friends. It's for the migrants. Let's just say what it is. So a system of suck created by a city of sanctuary suck, right? And now they're asking the students of the high school, come on over here. Help us push this over the finish line. Well, we actually have a story. I want you to hear this story before we dive into it just a little bit so you can understand how this makes me feel. This is an ABC 7 News report. The Chicago votes parade to the polls. Listen.
Every vote matters. It was billed as a nonpartisan parade to the polls.
Repeat after me. We will not give up the fight. Housing is a human right.
But there were certainly political messages chanted as Chicago Teachers Union members marched a large group of public school students from an engagement event at their West Side headquarters to Union Park so that those who were over 18 would cast what in many cases was their first vote for the upcoming Illinois primary.
It gives the youth a chance to speak and give power in their voices.
Teacher Brock Massey brought students from his Kenwood Academy class.
It's an opportunity for kids to come out, see what's going on, and then engage in their own political rights.
But events like this have been criticized, many claiming it's an exploitation of students for the political purposes of the people who brought them here.
You have a political organization taking children out of school to go vote. And at the end of the day, that's wrong. And it's a violation of CPS's code of ethics. If any other group that spent the kind of money and resources on politics that CTU does did the same activity, it would be national news.
How is this any different? Taking kids out of school so that they can go vote and be coerced, co-opted, pressured, taught, indoctrinated, suggested, whatever you want to call it. Do you really think your teacher should be doing this? Do you really think your teachers' union should be supporting this? How is this any different than the elementary school that we brought you? Was that Illinois again, Brock? I forget which state it was. This is the elementary school where a third grade teacher decided to create some LGBTQ club. And for all of the clubs on campus, parents had to sign a permission slip, except for this one. And parents weren't told anything about it. And it was called UBU. Are you 5, 6, 7, or 8? And you're questioning? No! I want to know why Barbie's hair didn't grow back after I cut it, you schmuck. I'm not questioning anything else. I'm questioning if Skipper's arm, when I move it around, if her boobs are going to grow bigger, because that's what my Skipper doll did. I wasn't thinking about sex. I sure as hell wasn't thinking about cutting off body parts or taking hormones or stepping into the gender closet with my teacher. Shh. Don't tell your parents. How's that any different than getting your 18-year-old to register to vote, to register Democrat, and to go vote for something that most assuredly these students do not understand? See, it's so wild, like in the world of education, when you educate, when you teach, when there's curricula that is beneficial, you teach history and outside the box thinking, right? When you teach the basics of economics and even shop, and you teach about taking care of a car or your finances or your own self, in addition to STEM and all the other things that students are learning. It's a powerful recipe. Our public schools don't get that. Our public school students are dollar signs to their districts. That's what they are. That's it. Conservatives in Illinois are decrying a Friday parade to the polls event that involves the Chicago Teachers Union and Chicago public school students. Shouldn't that be a full stop? Isn't that and right there? Do you need to hear more? Well, that's what it's like to live in a Democrat hellscape. There you go, Chicago. How about this? You guys heard about the marriage, the college professor at George Mason University, a white, homely woman, sorry, but it is what it is, who has said that marriage promotes white supremacy? Marriage, you being married, that promotes white supremacy. So now marriage is racist too. Check. Okay. This is on the collegefix.com. Marriage promotes white supremacy, says George Mason professor. Really? But scholars say marriage benefits society, minorities included. Marriage fundamentalism advances white supremacy, according to a George Mason University professor. Quote, and there's always mumbo jumbo, right? Got to throw in the mumbo jumbo when she should say, I am a triggered, white, college-educated liberal woman. I am a hack of epic nature. I am the threat to democracy. I am personally. So I'm going to spin this in some big way so I sound really important. This is what she said. I theorize that marriage fundamentalism, like structural racism, is a key structuring element of white heteropatriarchal supremacy, Professor Bethany Letick wrote in the Journal of Marriage and Family. Marriage fundamentalism can be understood as an ideological and cultural phenomenon where adherents espouse the superiority of the two-parent married family, she said. That's all I'm going to tell you about this. She doesn't deserve my oxygen. These are the people who are out and about, who are getting their hands on our children. These are the people who prove to me that what Joseph McCarthy was doing in the 1950s just scratched the surface. These are the people who are out in full force, telling you that the basic human connection, the commitment, the moral bond, and the pledging of an oath to another human being, marriage, is in some way discriminatory. Is there anything that the left doesn't take umbrage with or doesn't try to destroy? Now, if in the Chicago public schools, those students had been presented that as an impetus to register to vote, and they were told that was espoused by the left, now you're talking. Because I guarantee you, those young people likely would have found the GOP a more preferable home. This is what we're up against. Seriously. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, apparently this whole woke thing, it's not really good for people. Not really good for your health. What? That's so shocking. These people sound totally reasonable and sane. Don't miss this story. It's wild. Next. It's unfortunate. This woman lives in a heterosexual, monogamous relationship outside of marriage.
So she's not racist.
And so she has 2 kids with this guy.
But not married, so not racist.
Correct. She's Jen Psaki. She's the sanctimony. She is the smarmy, I know better than you. If only you all were as good as I am. And so she creates some structure, some basic concept in which to elevate herself while finger-wagging lesserlings who think that marriage is something special. Really? Because we can go through the laundry list of things that don't happen in a household that's got a father and a mother. We can talk about how kids are less likely to get involved in deviant activities, how they're less likely to try drugs, have premarital sex, get somebody else pregnant at an early age. We can go on and on and on. We can talk about their school work, their grades, their accomplishments, their aptitudes. We can follow them longitudinally and show the benefits of a two-parent household.
Notice that she trying to follow these people.
Notice that she didn't say heterosexual, though. So she leaves open that liberal door.
18 thumbs down. Congratulations.
Aw.
I'm proud of you. When you get 20,
they like me.
They hate me. They really, really hate me.
My work here is almost done.
18. Maybe
one of these days you'll get to 20.
Do you think?
I have faith in you.
Still have 11.6 watching. That's pretty amazing, you guys. We're delighted. 12:52. Twitter's a little slow on the uptake. Little slow. We are always here. Wendy Bell Radio Network app. If you'd rather just get our app or you'd rather listen to the podcast, whatever. We're glad that you're here, though. This is tremendous. Let's get to 5,000 or 4,000, Sherry says. Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't see that. I don't see that happening. But
we got to 21. 21 thumbs down.
Wow. Now people are just mucking with you because they want us to celebrate me not being liked.
I'm used to that. 4 years.
My cheeks hurt today. I think I'm stressed out.
Do me kick you in the shins, you'll forget about your cheeks.
No, I need to go get somebody has to rub my head, my neck. I would feel good. Stress.
I'm busy after work.
Well, I wasn't suggesting it would be you, so don't you worry about that. Oh, you only hear my voice on the podcast, so you don't get to see some of the faces of the players who make it into our laundry list of audio sound bites. How many did we have today, Brock? 23. 23. Now, we haven't hit the record, though we did, and I want to thank all of you watching on the live video stream. You guys just hit the highest number since we had President Trump on the program 2 years ago. I thank you so much for that. But we pay attention to these people who come out and try to tell us what we should believe, the voices and the faces of propaganda. They want you to believe that Donald Trump is calling for a bloodbath, that if he doesn't win, there's going to be retribution, the likes of which nobody could possibly imagine. You thought January 6th was an affront to your senses? I mean, it was worse than Pearl Harbor and 9/11 after all. You ain't seen nothing yet. He's going to shoot his wife. He's going to lose his mind. The guy who lunged for the steering wheel of his limousine. Oh, yeah, except that stuff didn't happen. The same way that the dude in Ohio running for Senate didn't try to get on a gay man's website. Don't let the facts get in the way of your feelings, of course. I watch these people, though, in particular the women. They look twisted, angry, like there's something going on there, right? They're grumpy. They've got furrowed brows. They look like they can jump at you. And I'm like, what is wrong with these people? Literally, it is an illness, right? This Trump derangement, everything. Well, maybe I'm not that far off. Because, according to this headline on the New York Post, woke people are more likely to be unhappy, anxious, and depressed, a new study suggests. This just in, breaking news. People who love being miserable have issues. What? Get out. Let's read this. And the ensuing picture, the accompanying picture, I should say, is a bunch of masked wackos with their arms up in the air like, rah, rah, like Howard Dean. Rah. Here's the story. Is ignorance bliss? Psychological researchers in Finland have created an assessment to help measure an individual's commitment to principles of social justice. And they made some surprising, some surprising findings across the Finnish population, including a negative correlation between progressive ideals and levels of happiness. Wait a minute. If I look through the lens of race and everything, and I think even marriage is racist, I'm probably going to be less happy than other people. You got it. Bing, 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 bing. There you go. Their findings, published in the Scandinavian Journal of Psychology, suggest other Western nations may see similar patterns among their socially conscious citizens. No, they're brainwashed. They're brainwashed, triggered, and activated. They're clone troopers, right? They're activated. Study author Oskari Lahinton, a senior researcher at Invest Research Flagship Center at the University of Turku, remarked that the woke discourse has since worked its way into Finnish discourse. Quote, this debate was largely data-free, and it could thus be considered a worthwhile question to study how prevalent these attitudes are, he continued. No reliable and valid instrument existed prior to the study to assess the extent and prevalence of these attitudes in different populations. So I set out to establish one. This is very interesting in my mind. So here's what they did. The pilot survey included 851 adult participants, most of whom were associated with the University of Turku. After refining the initial scale, the study was expanded to a more representative national sample of 5,000 participants. In the end, they had a critical social justice attitudes scale. It identified 7 truisms of woke people. Ready? 1, if white people have on average a higher level of income than black people, it's because of racism. Wow. 2, university reading lists should include fewer white or European authors. Wow. 3, microaggressions should be challenged often and actively. 4, trans women who compete with women in sports are not helping women's rights. Number 5, we don't need to talk more about the color of people's skin. A white person cannot understand how a black person feels equally well another black person. That's number 6. And a member of a privileged group can adopt features or cultural elements of a less privileged group. So apparently, the people who are most likely to say yes to those things found out to be more depressed, higher prevalence of anxiety and depression, and people who believe in these statements that if white people have on average a higher income than black people, it's because of racism. If that's honestly the way you see the world, it is through that lens, and it's not through your own ability. It's not through your own dreams. It's not your own merit, how hard you're willing to work and put yourself out there and sacrifice, how far you're willing to fail. Because with every step up on the ladder, that next rung that you might miss can cause you to fall all the way back down to the beginning. And the higher you climb, you know, the higher you fall. People who want to look at the world through these woke prisms, if you will, no wonder they're always so miserable. No wonder they're never happy. No wonder they need a demon. No wonder they feel a need to be someone's savior. It gives them meaning and purpose. And isn't that so tragically sad? So sad. Turn off the phone. Step away from the device. Look around you. That's not the world. That's not America. That's not healthy. That's not beneficial. That's not MAGA. And therein, I believe, is one of the biggest rubs against the whole MAGA movement. That we are truly delighted and proud Americans. Thanks for being a part of the Wendy Bell radio program today. I hope you come on back tomorrow. Until then, peace.